Clicking life, clicking
With the
life.
squeaky flow.
How are you? What's up?
Clicking it live with the squeaky flow. TikTok, time to rock. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon to everyone who's watching from all over the world. It's your friendly neighborhood philosopher here, D Wood. And with me now is apparently a fighter for the Israel Defense
And
Force.
also at the same time, an unfriendly, I don't know, village non-philosopher or something. I don't know. Couldn't come up with an alternative. Whatever. Yes, that's what I am.
Yeah, so you guys can tell by the title here that we're going to be talking about halal, KFC Canada going full halal, ladies and gentlemen. You might be wondering, if you're not familiar with this issue, you might be wondering, why would anyone care what KFC Canada? Why would anyone care what happens in Canada? Period. It's not like it's relevant to the rest of the world. So that's one issue. But then why would we care what KFC does at its restaurants? Well, there are reasons, ladies and gentlemen. There are reasons someone might actually care about this. So we're going to talk about reasons, I say, during this show. But before we get started, because it always takes a few minutes for people to work their way into the system, AP.
Yes.
What's been going on in France, man? I'm seeing all these people are posting like things are like, France has fallen. Care for
France is going through a very rough situation right now, which is we just a few days ago we talked about how in France things are really turning around, and the right wing under Marine Le Pen was gathering and shocking the masses by apparently collecting lots of votes in the first round, and they were kind of expected to win, to take over, to be the majority, or at least the party with the most seats in this election. However, in response to that, because of these projections, a lot of the people on the left began panicking and started taking drastic measures, like pulling people out of elections in many different places, working together and trying to convince each other to significantly gather a leftist alliance and strategically vote together, just in order to reduce the influence of the right and to prevent them from becoming the majority and prevent them from having power. So as a result of that, while it was expected that the right would be the majority party, the results are now, as it stands, that the leftist alliance, the far left, now has the highest number of seats. And Macron's centrist alliance comes after them, and then on the third place, right behind Marine Le Pen's right wing. And nobody now has a clear majority. Now they have to figure something out.
Now, I'm not exactly familiar with how the system over there works. You're a little bit closer to a European system because you grew up in that system. So I don't know exactly what was happening by people pulling out of elections and how would this change things. I'm guessing, since they don't just have a two-party system, I'm guessing it's a situation where, let's suppose there's some area and they have like 5 candidates and one of them is like right, one is center, and then there's like 3 on the left. So I guess the idea would be, if they have 3 left parties, then okay, 2 of these guys on the left agree to drop out to unite the left vote on one person, so that then they get is it something like that?
Yeah, that's one aspect of it. That's actually a big aspect of it, where they think, if there are multiple parties in a democratic system, then voting for those who might not really have a chance can result in the votes being divided and one side losing influence to the other. So yeah, in this case, they thought, hey, let's put all our differences aside and come together, pull out all these unnecessary things. Let's unite together. Let's go for this alliance, so that we can increase our influence and not waste votes on inefficient candidates that will not lead you to any result, that will just give power to the other side. So they worked very well with this plan and actually succeeded, and are now the majority, have now formed a very significant part of the parliament. But the situation now is that so the radical far left in this approach has gathered a lot of seats. I think they have like between 180 and 190. But in order to form a majority and to form a government comfortably, they have to be over 290 seats. They are not even close to that. The center with Macron is lower than that. The right is even lower than that. So now the whole concern is that because of this whole move to prevent the right from taking power, they have basically paralyzed the whole democratic system and caused a mess where no government can be properly formed. This is actually the first time in the history of the current republic where such a significant disorder in numbers is taking place. But there are solutions to that. And some of the solutions are that the left will most likely approach the center, Macron, and they will figure things out and work together just to exclude the right wing from having any power. And will make compromises and work together. And the problem is that the left has some very, very messed up promises and policies for the future of France. And the one thing that you don't want to do, apparently Europeans should have learned that in school. The one thing that you don't want to do is to say, oh, look at that. A large portion of our population wants to vote for this other extreme side. Therefore, what should we do? We should instead go for the opposing extreme side. If you do that, what you will cause is, and this should be understood, and this was also part of much of what happened before World War II. This will result in not more unity, not more stability, but more unrest.
Yeah, you're going to radicalize the other side.
Possible civil war, if not worse. So this is just so stupid. Yeah. That's what.
Well, there is in all these discussions, there's always this part of me that says, "You guys get what you deserve. You get what you deserve. You asked for it, and now you're getting it. We warned you for decades, and you just called everyone names, and now you're getting it." But at the same time, there are lots of people who didn't want any of this and are just trying to do the right thing and so on. And they have to now be on the receiving end of the destruction of their society. Wild. So what was crazy is, because I obviously haven't been following it terribly close, but I would see these posts. Leftists are rioting because they're losing the election. And then when they pulled all these stunts, and then they're going to win, and then it says leftists rioting and attacking police to celebrate their victory. It's like, wait, these guys riot and burn cities to the ground whether they win or lose. It's kind of wild stuff. Like, hey, no matter what happens, we are burning this place to the ground tomorrow. It's done. Whatever happens, win or lose, we are burning our city to the ground.
There are actually currently violent celebrations going on, which is very, very funny because normally when they protest, the excuse is that violence is a means of resistance against the oppressor. But why are you using violence now after a victory? It clearly looks like it's not about resisting. It looks like they're just looking for an excuse to be violent.
Some people are looking for an excuse to burn everything to the ground. All right, guys, so that's your update on the situation in France, loosely connected to what the situation is in Canada, because there are a bunch of French people up there.
Yeah. The one good thing about it is that I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but the current French Republic is called the Fifth Republic, which is because it's the fifth time that a French Republic has been formed. Because the French people have a habit of, as it was during the French Revolution and all that, a habit of being very, 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 very active about their political issues. So rioting and trying to destroy it and build it from scratch is not very uncommon among the French. So.
Well, that's good. So there's a bright side, ladies and gentlemen. If you destroy your society and then rebuild it just a few more times, you can get it right up to a nice even number of 10. 10th Republic. Welcome to the 10th Republic.
Alhamdulillah.
Powerful. All right, but we are going to be on the topic of halal food. Let's take a couple super chats real quick, and then we're going to check out what's going on in Canada. Hey, David, new ex-Muslim Christian here from yesterday's live. Can you talk to Sean McDowell about Islam? He made a
Boost.
video about Christians talking to Muslims. Would be nice to have to have balanced perspectives. What do you mean balanced perspectives? Is his unbalanced and he needs me to balance him out? I know Sean. What's going on? Although I have to say, this is the second time someone mentioned a recent video he's posted something where he's going to a mosque or something like that, which I'd be all in favor for. We'll have to check it out. Maybe I'll get Sean on here. I know Sean. Maybe I'll school and humiliate him in front of everyone and shame him.
The only Sean I know is Sean the sheep.
Yeah, for anyone who doesn't know Sean McDowell, he's the son of Josh McDowell. That was the first, More Than a Carpenter was the first apologetics book I read that I actually knew I was reading apologetics. I'd read some before, but I thought I was just reading like books about Christianity and so on. Then once I understood what apologetics was, it was some old guy. What was his name? Billy Buck. He was an old guy who'd been locked up for like 40 years or something like that. He walks up with More Than a Carpenter, which is Josh McDowell's books, a little short book. And he walks up and he goes, my daughter sent me this. Looks like something you'd be interested in. And so he handed it to me. And I remember seeing that book, More Than a Carpenter, in the Christian Book Distributors catalog in the section Apologetics. But I didn't know what apologetics was. But then I found it out. And I read.
That's when people apologize.
Yeah, that's where people just apologize endlessly for being a Christian. We say, we're sorry for being a Christian. It does suck that the words sound so much alike because I get that all the time. What are you apologizing for? Guys, apology in this sense has nothing to do with apologizing. It refers to, it was a legal term that referred to your defense against charges in a court setting. That's why Plato's book about the trial of Socrates is called The Apology. You read that. Socrates was not apologizing to anyone. In fact, he enraged them.
I'm sorry, everybody. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he enraged them so much that they sentenced him to death when they didn't need to. So he had the whole trial, and then they find him guilty, and then you get to propose your own sentence, and the opposition gets to offer their sentence and so on, and then they'll come up with some compromise and so on. And so they asked Socrates, "What should be your sentence?" He said, "Free food for life," and that ticked them off. That ticked everyone off, and they killed him. But yeah, no, I'll check it out. I'll check out what Sean said, and if he has to be put in his place, and he will, I will treat him like I treat Mike Winger if he's out of line. D. Wood, you should get a silver steak. AP might revert to his half wolf ancestry. No offense, AP, just playing it safe. Oh yeah, we were talking about wolf. Oh yeah, you're part wolf.
Yes.
Forgot about
my
that.
Ancestors were wolf. I come from a generation of wolves. No, I mean I take no offense. It's just facts. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, guys. If you don't know what we're talking about, this was yesterday, and apparently Turkish people are descended from some kid humping a wolf. True story. AP actually brought the receipts. He pulls up an article showing no Turkish people do come from some kid humping a wolf lady. Oh, just a wolf.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, hey, here's an interesting one. It says, no credible news organization is reporting this. I call BS. So as far as the Canada thing, no, I went to KFC Canada's website and I did find it. I didn't find the letter. We're going to look at the letter that people have been circulating, but I did find the announcement. So yes, I did find the announcement that they're going full halal in Ontario with a couple of exceptions on certain areas. So it's not BS. But yes, you're right. I couldn't find people reporting on it. I just found a bunch of people on Twitter sharing the letter. But yes, I did go to KFC Canada's website, and they are doing this. Their national anthem about to be "Oh Caliphate." Yep, that's about right. AP, you didn't read my second super chat yesterday. You absolute garbage person.
I read everything that I found.
When I said, from the donkey to the mule, AP will be free. You didn't read that? That would have been funny. From the donkey to the mule, AP will be free. You need to fix the meter, add a little bit, add a couple syllables in there to get the right meter. From the donkey to the mule, that is the correct meter. Also, play as Nietzsche for the Boom Boom Room. Now, you messaged me that said you may have a Hitler costume. It's like, wait, what? You may have a Hitler costume. What? who who may have a Hitler costume?
Well, it's in my collection of my favorite things that I like to wear sometimes when I dream of what I could be in an alternative universe. I have such a costume somewhere. I might find it. I don't know.
Um, so are you suggesting we record Muhammad meets Hitler?
I don't know. I was just asking you if you want to do that soon. I don't know, but yeah, we could totally do that.
Because we're
And
already
Nietzsche,
doing. Yeah, I haven't decided because we only have a couple days until we're recording, but we're definitely doing Muhammad meets Queers for Palestine.
yes.
And I'm thinking, since they have lots of sheep and goats in Ohio, I'm thinking of just recording a sheep or a goat, and then writing the script later for Muhammad meets the sheep or the. That's the problem. It's whether it's a sheep or a goat. The source I use most frequently, Sunan Ibn Majah, 1944, has a sheep eating it, but we actually tested it on a farm and discovered that a goat is massively more likely to eat something like that than a sheep. The sheep isn't interested, even if the sheep is hungry.
Goats are big.
A goat will just tear right into it.
Goats are.
So it's much more likely that the goat version of the story is correct. So maybe, I don't know. Maybe it could be Muhammad and he's sitting there with a sheep and a goat.
Huh.
Darn, this is already sounding perverted, but it's not. It's actually like maybe Muhammad's like interrogating them to figure out which one was a sheep or a goat who ate the Quran. Anyway, we've got a couple days to figure this out.
What if we change the story and make it so that a wolf ate the Quran?
And then got humped by a kid and produced the Turks. What the heck is wrong with you? Who wants to be? I don't know. Yeah. France just elected far-left commies who hate Israel and love hate speech laws. AP2 D Wood 0 in just 2 weeks. Optimist bros just can't stop losing. No, that is not a D Wood 0 lesson. That is, I believe things have to get way worse before they get better. So before you get a serious reaction among people like the French, things have to get completely unbearable for them. So they need to go, guys. I've explained it before. It's the old story. I don't think this is actually would happen like this, but it's the old story about if you stick a frog in a pot of water and turn the heat up slightly, so you can actually cook the frog and he won't jump out because the temperature is slowly rising. Or if you toss him in a hot water, he'll jump right out. But if you slowly raise the temperature, again, I don't think this is actually the case, but if it still makes the point. If things slowly get worse in a society, people adapt and get used to it, and they just keep getting used to it and used to it and used to it. If things get really bad real quick, that's when they notice the change. So things might need to get.
Huh? I tried it. It didn't work like that.
Yeah, try harder.
Okay,
try harder. It's finger licking good. Sahih Bukhari. Look up these passages, AP. Sahih Bukhari. 54, 50. What are you giving 17 passages? We're looking up one of these passages. Next, Zakir Naik. Sahih Bukhari, 54, 56. By the way, shout out to ProNode 22 for gifting five memberships.
When you eat, do not wipe your hands till you have licked it or had it licked by somebody else.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, so you got all these passages. I'm wondering, because we're also recording Muhammad being poisoned scene. Being poisoned scene, where we've got Mary Harp, who's awesome at set design. She's setting everything up. I've purchased all the supplies. Very expensive to make this as authentic as possible. Some things are a little out of place, so it's going to be Muhammad's still going to have a suicide vest on. So there's some. There's some anachronisms, but it's totally worth it. But I'm wondering, because they're going to be eating, right? And so it's possible to bring these finger-licking passages in there. But I'm thinking about having Diha al-Kalbi there, because we know he was at Khaybar, because that was the guy who was going to take Safiya as his war booty, and then Muhammad wanted her. And then he gave Diha seven sex slaves in exchange for Safiya. But apparently, Diha was one of the sexiest guys in all of Arabia, which is why he was over at Muhammad's house so frequently. But we could have Muhammad saying, well, I know who's going to be sucking on my fingers, or something like that, and glancing over at Diha. our buddy David S. You know him? You've seen him in some things, but he's a really good looking guy. He could play D.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, you guys brought this on yourself, ladies and gentlemen. You brought this on
That's
yourself. Mike Winger is the type of person to care about Canada and use the metric system when talking to a European, unlike David, a true American patriot. You're darn right. I walk in there and I walk into McDonald's in the UK and I say, give me a quarter pounder with cheese. And I say, do you mean a Royale? I said, no, a quarter pounder, dang it. I say, we don't know what that is, isn't it? I was like, watch Pulp Fiction. Anyway. Paul, 1 Corinthians 8. We're actually going to look at that. And Jesus, Mark 7:19, say we can eat foods sacrificed to idols. I like KFC, even though Popeyes is objectively better. That's my take. That's not going to be far off from my take, as we'll see. But we're actually going to look at the passages, and we'll ask people here what they think about various issues, because this is kind of a tricky situation. There are multiple objections someone could have to eating halal food. We'll talk about those. We'll also get AP's completely irrelevant response.
Yes.
Only Mike Winger can defeat Trudeau and restore KFC. What are you talking about? He's basically the Trudeau of Christian apologetics.
I have to say that does make sense. I mean, if Mike Winger took over Canada, things would be much better. So,
oh my goodness, stop!
You have your differences there, but
stop acting like inspiring philosophy and being a traitor. If indeed he's being a traitor, we'll see. Time will tell.
I'm not a traitor. France
on its 5th, and if AP had his way, Germany would be on its 4th. Fifth Republic, Fourth Reich. Hola, amigos. It's from Richard Dawkins. The Richard Dawkins showed up. That's cool. Mike Winger, the type of silly speaker to say, is this thing on when making a speech while he taps his microphone? There's got to be a website where they're getting these things. Give Minahil the hallelujah. Oh, I don't have it plugged in right now. Darn it.
You don't have your soundboard plugged in?
No, I didn't. I unplugged it, and I would have to actually get up and plug it in again. I will have that. I will have that for next time. I'll have that plugged in. So, Minahil, come back for the next live stream on my channel, and we will have the chorus ready. Let's see. Wingeling here. I'm about to block you. Wingeling here. Any thoughts on schools? Gotta love your enemies. 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 And pray for those who persecute you. Wingeling here. Any thoughts on schools adding 10 commandments and scripture into schools? We're not a faith of compulsion, but God needs to be reintroduced to our society for morals' sake, at least.
Aren't Wingelings the new Nazis or something?
Yeah. What are your I think kids need more guidance than they're getting. I'm not convinced of the value of just putting something on the wall. It always seems like whenever it was, hey, we got this 10 Commandments monument over here. It seems like more just to show that you were strong enough to get that in place versus doing something that's actually making a difference. Anyway, I don't know. I'm not convinced that you're changing kids' lives by putting something on the wall.
You're totally changing lives.
Alhamdulillah. In other words, I think kids got bigger problems than not seeing the 10 Commandments on a wall or something like that. So, not sure what to do. Not sure what to do about that. What if it's a mistranslation and it's 72 Virginians? Washington, Jefferson, Patrick Henry et al. Just wallop them in the afterlife.
That would be funny.
Yeah, that would be funny. Mike Winger's the type of guy to say, this is a bit spicy when something has salt and pepper on it. AP got Hitler costume. Where do I buy one? Based. It is hard.
Me.
Yeah, you can. Ooh, maybe you can appear in the costume and then give it to a fan.
Yes.
Like Nut is here because there is a large Muslim diaspora in Canada. All of the Muslim food YouTubers who live there keep whining about Palestine. That's weird. Muslims whining about Palestine? That's weird. France is burning.
Well, I was watching. I recently started watching this show on Netflix. It's called Your Honor. I don't know
Oh
if
gosh,
you've
I
heard
thought you were about to say cuties, man. I thought you were about to say cuties, going the Sneeko route.
it.
What?
It's called Your Honor, and it's an interestingly weird show. However, just yesterday, I think there was an episode where they were having a casual conversation, nothing to do with Islam at all, and then the daughter of this crime family, she's sitting there, and apparently she's learning about religion and she's starting to question her own religious things and stuff like that, and they don't want that. But anyway, in the middle of the conversation, she says something like she suddenly starts talking about Muslims and says, well, the Muslims have it all figured out. When they go to heaven, they get a busload of virgins. uh, and and what do the women get? The women get their husbands back. Like that's what she
Yeah.
that's what she says. And I was kind of surprised to hear that in a show, in a modern show nowadays. I
That
don't know.
is, but yeah, that is extremely rare, and I have to say, pretty surprising. You may want to take that clip and actually share it or something like that. But yeah, I'm used to shows where, like Law and Order, they would occasionally bring up something about Islam, and they would have someone say something negative, but then instantly another character has to jump in and no, that's not what Islam
Yeah.
teaches. Islam's all about peace and tolerance. Stop believing the misrepresentations. Like it's like clockwork. Like anytime I'm watching an episode and someone brings up, oh, did this man kill his daughter in an honor killing? And then I'm like, wait for it, wait for it. Wait for it. No! If anyone kills a man in Islam, it's as if he's killed all mankind. This is like clockwork, and that's how they always are.
I know. I was expecting. I was like, okay, no, this can't be it. They have to. They'll probably save it and not make it Islamophobic and all that. But no, they just said that and then moved on. It was kind of funny. Very very Islamophobic. I wanted to take that clip and immediately complain to Netflix and say, please take this down, or I will cancel my Netflix subscription or burn your place down because this is Islamophobia. I haven't done it yet.
Oh, hey, yeah, I just went and looked up. Yeah, there is. Hang on. Matter of fact, let me bring up this comment by Minute Hill here. Oh, so we had Francis burning. Is it? Are they actually burning stuff down? I saw them attacking cops. Is it burning again, or is that figurative? Is that literal or figurative? Are people burning down France again?
Probably figurative.
Okay. Hill says the imam that Sean talked to was portraying such a false, feel good version of Islam. Shocker. I'm all for peace with Muslims, but the Dawa deception has to go. This coming from an ex Muslim. Yeah, I looked at this. AP. This video is 29 minutes. It's on Sean McDowell's channel. We will check it
My
out. We will go through it live and we will humiliate this guy every time he's lying, and we will praise and honor him anytime he's telling the truth.
it's hard to believe that a Muslim guy is actually presenting Islam as nice. I don't know.
Yeah. So yeah, and keep in mind, guys. So this is an imam. I have not seen the video, so he might be the nicest guy in the world. I don't know. I'm looking at the comments here. People are saying he's not being honest. Apostasy is taken very seriously. So apparently, he's saying that no, we're fine with apostasy or something like that. Okay, all right. So we are going to have to take a look at this. I'm looking at the other comments. So sad to see the deception in Islam. Beginning, he says there are bad translations and weird stuff. People saying, I genuinely do not know how you kept a straight face when he's talking about. Okay, all right. We're going to have to check that out. We're going to have to, we will check that out, ladies and gentlemen. It will be powerful. It will be epic. All right. We got some more super chats, but let's go ahead and jump into AP.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on halal food? If you're walking down the street and you're looking for a place to eat and you see a restaurant and it looks banging, it says halal. Do you have a problem with the halal, or do you go eat as long as it's not people who recognize you and want to saw your head off?
And I would go on further and say that I would only eat at the halal place and want the other places to be demolished and destroyed completely for not following the halal recommendations or prescriptions. Yep. No, I personally don't care, honestly. If I see a halal place, I'll just and I like what I see. It smells good. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna eat that. I'm gonna eat that. But it's just a personal preference. But if you start imposing something like that, or adjusting your own cuisine and your own restaurants and whatever to for halal, um, standards, that's a little bit too far.
Yeah, so that is an interesting kind of situation here. I have to say, I'll say here at the beginning, I am also among the people who don't really care. In other words, I'm not checking. If I go and I'm not looking around and saying, "Oh, is this halal? If it is, I don't want any," or something like that. I generally am not terribly concerned. When you have entire restaurant chains going halal and so on and changing their entire policies, and let me see if I can find this article here. This is from 2018. So this is a Courthouse News Service. So this is a legal article. Courthouse News Service. This is from 2018. So this is, let's see, given the month, it's 5.5 years ago. 5.5 years ago. KFC franchisee loses fight to market chicken as Muslim friendly. So this is 2018. It says a federal judge ruled Tuesday that a Muslim KFC franchisee cannot advertise his fried chicken to the Chicago area Muslim community as halal because, here it is, because KFC's corporate policy prohibits franchisees from making religious dietary claims about its food. And it has an article about the decision here. But so this was, so guys, you have a restaurant like McDonald's or KFC or something like that. Just how that works, you can actually buy a McDonald's. You have to give them a cut for using their name and stuff. But you can actually own the restaurant and so on. So you can buy a KFC franchise. So a Muslim owned a KFC franchise in, did it say? It says Chicago area. So in the Chicago area, lots of Muslims wanted to market the chicken as halal because he's only using halal chicken. And so he wants to advertise it. The judge ruled against him and said, you cannot advertise your food as halal because KFC's corporate policy prohibits franchisees from making religious dietary claims about its food. So KFC's official policy in 2018 was, no, you can't do that. You can't advertise it. We're not taking sides on any of these religious matters. None of all that religious stuff, keep to the side. You can't advertise this way.
Terrible decision, very Islamophobic.
Fast forward to today. Fast forward just a few years. Let's go ahead and read this article, ladies and gentlemen. Well, not article. We'll read the letter. Again, this is the letter that's circulating on Twitter. I did not find the letter on KFC Canada's site, but I did find them confirming basically the same thing, that they're going halal. So here we have Kentucky Fried Chicken Canada Company, blah, 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 blah. Dear community leaders. So this was actually a few months ago, just started catching people's attention now. KFC Canada launching halal certified chicken in Ontario. Keep in mind, 2018, you could not advertise anything as halal or say your stuff is halal because that would be taking religious sides, making a religious claim. And that was, in 2018, against KFC's corporate policy. No more, ladies and gentlemen. Now they can be as halal as they want. We are excited to inform you that effective May 15th, 2024, KFC, so that's already happened, KFC Canada will be launching halal certified chicken across KFC restaurants in Ontario, Canada, excluding Thunder Bay and Ottawa, because no one cares about Thunder Bay or Ottawa. This initiative is a testament to our commitment to providing, this is the funny part, this initiative is a testament to our commitment to providing diverse and inclusive menu options for all our customers. As part of this launch, we have taken the following steps. So that's what I find funny, AP. In order to be as inclusive as possible, we're catering to this one religion in a way that may offend every other person.
Huh.
Isn't that all? It reminds me, it's the same thing. Like, in order to be more inclusive, we have to make laws against criticizing Muhammad. Because, to be more inclusive, we can't allow you to criticize Muhammad. So in order to be more inclusive, we have to silence people. In order to be more inclusive, we have to make things 100% Sharia compliant for inclusivity and diversity.
Wait, will they also make it kosher?
Yeah, I mean, cater to everyone there. Matter of fact, I mean, if you really wanted to make it diverse, you should have to go in. You should go in there and be able to say, "Hey, here are the dietary restrictions that I follow, and you got to make it that way." And we'll get into. Matter of fact, we'll check out what halal is. But let's go ahead and see what they're doing. So, as part of this launch, we have taken the following steps. Went down. Ensured, so these are the steps that they are taking. Ensured all chicken products are halal certified, including but not limited to chicken on the bone, chicken tenders, popcorn chicken, sandwiches, wings, etc. Discontinued pork products at all KFC locations. Now, KFC is not known for its pork. I'm guessing this is talking about chicken sandwiches and having bacon on the chicken sandwiches. So no more bacon on your chicken sandwiches because pork products are discontinued. Discontinued pork products at all KFC locations. But this is what I'm talking about, right? You've had pork products. You didn't stop the pork products because Jews don't want to eat them or because Jews won't eat that, but you'll do it to make it halal. Discontinued pork products at all KFC locations, excluding establishments co-branded with Taco Bell. So if it's one of those joint locations that has a KFC on one side and a Taco Bell on another, they say, okay, they don't have to because then the Taco Bell would have to get rid of pork too. Partnered with halal suppliers. So they're partnering with halal suppliers such as Maple Lodge Farms, home of Canada's #1 halal brand. Wow, quite an honor. Zabiha Halal, with long-standing experience delivering halal products to the Muslim community. Wow, Zabiha
But
Halal.
did you say Zabiba? Oh, Zabiba.
Oh,
Okay.
Zabiha.
Oh, I see.
It'd be funny if it was called Zabiba, or matter of fact, it'd be even funnier if it was called Zabubas. Zabubas Halal. Zabubas. Trained Ontario restaurant staff on halal operational procedures. So all the KFC restaurant staff had to go to training from our Muslim friends on how to be 100% halal.
And they learned to be good boys.
And yes, and here's how you pray. Collaborated with KFC Canada Muslim team members on the halal rollout. Awesome. They've collaborated with KFC Canada Muslim team members on the halal rollout. Keep in mind, this is all for inclusivity. Going full Sharia compliant is just for inclusivity.
So happy to see that.
Halal certified chicken will be available at KFC restaurants in Ontario starting May 15th, 2024, followed by the rest of Canada. Wait a minute. Followed by the rest of Canada. I didn't even read that. Followed by the rest of Canada by year end. So Canada, it's Ontario now, but all of Canada will be halal certified. The KFCs will be halal certified by the end of the year. We sincerely appreciate your partnership. And if you have any questions or would like further information, please feel free to reach out. Lookman, I wonder who that guy is. Research and Development and Operations Manager, KFC Canada. Yours truly, Kentucky Fried Chicken Canada Company. Well, isn't this a peach here?
Wow, that's beautiful.
So Canada will be 100. KFC Canada will be 100% halal certified by the end of the year. Ontario is the rollout. You got that?
This makes me so happy. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Alhamdulillah.
Finally. And again, guys, you just as of 2018, you couldn't even say halal certified. You couldn't even say, hey, this is halal, because KFC. The corporate KFC corporate would say, you can't do that. We're not taking sides on religious issues. We're not emphasizing religious preparation and so on. So get rid of that. And now, hey, everyone, all of Canada is going full Sharia compliance.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and I'm kind of like AP. If I were in a KFC and some of that chicken had been halal, I really wouldn't care. I do care when they say, hey, we're going full halal at all locations, and we're changing our corporate policy to go full halal. This is one of the objections you could have. We'll talk about multiple objections you can have to halal food. One of the objections you can have is something that I don't know who named it this. It may have been Robert Spencer. May have been Robert Spencer. But it's, you go back 20 years ago, they were calling it creeping Sharia. Creeping Sharia. They called it creeping Sharia. Don't be a Sharia creep, right? But creeping Sharia was the idea that historically, if Muslims could go in and conquer an area, they'd go in and conquer an area, take it over, and apply Sharia. But in areas where they can't conquer it, they just take little baby steps. But they're relentless with their little baby steps. Hey, can you tweak this little law? Can you change this over here? Can you make this change right here? Can we change the city policy over here? Can you change your restaurant's policy? And it's just relentless baby steps of making changes that ultimately bring about Sharia, that make an area more and more increasingly Sharia compliant. And now we see KFC again, whose policy just a few years ago was you can't say that you're halal, you can't say that you're kosher, don't say any of that stuff. Stop talking about religious stuff. This is a restaurant. Want everyone welcome here. And now, no, all of Canada will be 100% Sharia compliant with Islamic food, dietary restrictions. And this is for inclusivity, ladies and gentlemen, inclusivity.
It sounds like you're spreading this conspiracy theory that Islam is going to spread, and more rules will be adjusted in order to accommodate Islam and accommodate Islamic morality and all of that. This is obviously a big conspiracy theory that is totally false and is a bunch of hate mongering. So I'm not sure why you are promoting this conspiracy theory. Clearly, it's not happening. Islam will not spread much. Muslims are just people like the rest of us, and all cultures and all beliefs are the same, and all that. So, and I don't know. This is nice to see, but I hope that I just hope that soon we can also have mandatory hijabs in all KFCs.
That is indeed 100% correct. Here's what's interesting though. If you go back 20 years ago, people like Robert Spencer was calling this creeping Sharia. And they're saying, guys, here's what's going to happen in the future. If they can't conquer you and impose Sharia, they're going to do it slowly by playing victim and then saying, oh, come on, to be inclusive towards us, you have to change your policy. They said what was going to happen. They were called racists and bigots for saying it. And yet you look and what predictions that we were making 15, 20 years ago have not come true, ladies and gentlemen. What? Name one. Go back to anything we were saying 15, 20 years ago, anything Robert was saying, anything I was saying back then. Find anything we were saying was going to be the case 20 years from now that hasn't come true. Show us something. You can't.
I can show you one.
What?
You guys were saying that they want to turn this into an Islamic state, and they want to bring Sharia, and they want to establish a caliphate. Where is it? It still didn't happen. They only say they want to make it happen.
Yeah, you're right. They never tried to make a caliphate.
Yeah.
All right. So we're gonna look a little more into this. We're gonna discuss. We'll discuss a little bit about what exactly halal is. What does it take to get your chicken? What does it take to convert your chicken to Islam? How do you know that your chicken is a good Muslim chicken that's acceptable before Allah? We're gonna look into that. We'll take a couple more super chats. What are you laughing at? Why are you laughing?
Nothing.
Okay.
I was just thinking of something funny.
Okay. When Mike Winger sees a woman in niqab, he thinks, what Star Wars character is she playing? Mike Winger is the type of guy to fart in a toilet and flush. I have to say, I like people making fun of Mike Winger constantly. That is one of the highlights of my day. San here says, Mike Winger, the type of guy to be named Mike Winger. I know, isn't it a joke? Think of all the dork names you could have. I'm Mike Winger. Getting a bunch of these. Mike Winger is the type of person to watch my recent video and say, that's not Christ-like. Hint being dropped. All right, we got the hint there, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe we'll do another show in the near future where we check out a couple of videos made by people in the chat, because You got a bunch of people in the chat who don't make videos, but you do have people who actually make their content, and we apparently occasionally want to go through and watch some videos and give helpful feedback and brutal criticism. But yeah, in the meantime, check out White Lily's channel for her video, and then when we actually play it and give brutal, merciless criticism, then everyone understands what we're talking about.
Yeah, I do want to check out White Lily's videos. They seem interesting, and I primarily just want to do it to talk trash about them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Halal slaughter means KFC will dispatch chickens in the same way Hamas takes care of Jewish grandparents. Yeah, we'll go into a little bit of halal, what it means for your chicken to convert to Islam. Missed early super chat halal versus kosher. If it was before we started, then it's not in the it doesn't show up here.
Yes.
Missed early super chat halal versus kosher. A quarter pounder is named a quarter pounder in Europe, at least where I've been. Hey, that's interesting. I only knew from Pulp Fiction, where they said it's called a Royale with cheese. And they automatically come with cheese. You have to ask them to remove it, not add it. D-Wood, you need to spend some more time over here. No, I don't. I remember ordering some French fries at McDonald's, and they said, would you like mayonnaise or salsa with that? Like, what? You could get ketchup, but you had to that was like some weird alternative to them. It was mayonnaise or salsa.
Where was that?
That was in London. I went to this is back like 10 years ago or something like that. But yeah, I was there in London. I went in, I ordered something, a burger or something like that, and fries. And they said, you want mayonnaise or salsa with that? And I was like, is there no third option?
Maybe they were just pranking you.
No, they weren't. They're that evil. I have to say, though, I did try the fries with mayonnaise, and it was okay. Have you heard of Jollibee? Yeah, that's like a Philippine. My wife's half Filipino, man. Come on. So yeah, it's like a fast food type place, but for Filipino food. It's famous in the Philippines. My wife loves it there, but I get PTSD because the bee looks like Farfour. Yeah, I don't remember what the Jollibee looks like. Did you see Winger's debate with Dillahunty? I've never seen a more precious, hypersensitive, insecure excuse for an apologist. That's weird. That might be the one time I might be actually rooting for Matt Dillahunty. Also, the metric system is better than the Americanican imperial system.
Yes. We can have discussions about everything, but the way things are measured in America most of the time makes 0 sense, whereas everything is very, very well established with the metric system, with the weights and everything.
Yeah. Yes. Speaking objectively, ladies and gentlemen, the centimeters, meters, kilometers, and so on, that system where everything is like multiples of 10, that does make sense. That does make, in a sense, more sense than the American system where you've got 12 inches in a foot, 3 feet in a yard, and so on. Even with temperature and so on. The only convenient thing about the American system with Fahrenheit is it's good for outdoor temperatures. Like 100 degrees is really hot, 0 degrees is really cold. That works well. So objectively speaking, would be superior, but the American system is nevertheless better because America adopted it, and learning more than multiples of 10 is just better for your brain. It builds more brainwaves and makes you smarter, which is why America took off and Europe is crumbling from within.
So weird. I arrived when did I come to America? I think like 7 years ago or so, and I still have no idea what's going on when people say, "Oh yeah, the so many feet and inches." I'm like, what? Yeah.
AP, I'm betting 200 for the costume purely for the troll.
Inshallah.
Yeah, you're gonna have to send me a picture of this costume. Mike Winger is the type of guy to not have a subscription to Goat Hub. Cringe. What a nerd. Don't be like Mike.
Yeah. I can agree with that.
All right, so we ready to go into some halal? We got more super chats, but again, let's go into some halal issues. Hang on. I'm just going to read about halal certification. This is from a nice, a Muslim friendly ish site, so they're not trying to criticize it. Scrolling down through here to find out exactly what. Okay. Oh, this was a trial. Let me go and read this real quick. Halal slaughter is more complicated than you realize. As the Muslim populations of Western nations continue to grow, controversy over the halal slaughter of animals has intensified. We asked Dr. Temple Grandin the question that's most often at the center. Is halal slaughter humane? Oh, this is wild. Halal or not? That is a question. Last week, the founder of Midamar Corporation, a halal beef producer based in Cedar Rapids, was indicted on 19 felony counts for allegedly exporting mislabeled halal meat to Indonesia and Malaysia. So apparently wasn't doing it correctly and was sending it. So was not preparing his halal food correctly, but was sending it to Indonesia and Malaysia. I got 19 felony counts. Apparently they take it very seriously if you label something halal and it's not. 19 felony counts?
What a waste of humanity.
The two countries both have Muslim majority. Indonesia has the largest Muslim population, blah, blah, blah. And both follow strict import policies to ensure that any meat that crosses their borders was slaughtered under halal guidelines. They want their cows to be 100% Muslim before they're not crossing the border.
Which Muslim countries are we talking about? Indonesia and England?
Indonesia and Malaysia, but England would be pretty much probably more strict. Midamar founder has been accused of processing the Southeast Asian-bound beef in a Minnesota plant that didn't meet the country's standards, then changing package labels and fabricating documents to make the meat acceptable to importers. Can you imagine how many thousands, tens of thousands of Muslims ate non-halal food? You know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of the guys who sell camel urine. Remember that? There'd be these stories of guys who sell camel urine, but they get caught. They're just peeing in bottles and selling it to people as camel urine so they can follow Muhammad's guidelines, and they're just drinking human urine.
That's what I do all the time. Yeah.
And so these guys are just chopping up cows and stuff, sending it out and putting the halal certified label. Who's going to know the difference? Well, someone snitched.
There have also been many reports in the past of people selling Zamzam water from the Kaaba, but allegedly it's just regular tap water from somewhere.
Yeah.
But nobody knows because there is no difference.
Oh my goodness. If he's convicted on all these charges, these 19 counts of mislabeling halal meat, if he's convicted on all these charges, AOC faces 246 years in federal prison and $4.75 million in fines. 246 years. He could have gone and slaughtered 2 people and not gotten 246 years. But he's going to get that for mislabeling his halal. They take this really seriously, man.
Yeah, you mislabeled the halal food.
You could have murdered, dude. You could have murdered someone and gotten less time. Then this guy's nuts. These people are nuts, man. I've known a lot of criminals. That is a lot of time for mislabeling some food. Anyway, I just want to get to the part where they explain what halal certification. The Midamar trial is just the latest in a series of headline-grabbing scandals about halal slaughter over the past few years. Though the most recent controversy is an American one, many of the news stories about halal meat have originated in Europe. Shocker. Always starts in Europe. As the Muslim population there surges, it grew from 29.6 million in 1990 to 44.1 million in 2010 and is projected to exceed 58 million by 2030. So basically doubling the Muslim population since 1990 within the next couple of years. If the trajectory continues as it is. Keep in mind, if everyone just watches our live streams, watches our videos, pays attention, learns a couple of things, and exposes Islam, Those apostasy rates, we got them to 24. Let's get them to 50. Let's get them to 50 and then get them to 100 by 2030. Halal slaughterhouses have become important businesses in countries such as France and Germany, whose Muslim populations have grown exponentially. In other words, as the Muslim population booms, businesses that prepare meat want to take advantage of that situation, and so they market towards them. All right. Fraudulent labeling aside, the question that's most often posed about halal slaughter is it humane? In conventional slaughterhouses, and I mentioned that what are you laughing at?
Humane? Nobody cares. Allah doesn't care.
Yeah, guys, so I mentioned that there are multiple possible objections to halal food. One I mentioned is creeping Sharia, that you can say, I don't care how this, I don't care what the process was to make this food. I want the food and I don't really care how it got here. So you could be like that, but you could also say, hey, I don't want these baby steps towards Sharia and taking over entire industries and stuff like that to make them more Sharia compliant. So that was one. Another one is you could have an objection to how the animals are treated. So this is what we're getting to. Is it humane? In conventional slaughterhouses, cows, pigs, and sheep are stunned before they're killed. They stun them. Zap, they're unconscious. Then they kill them. They're stunned before they're killed using a captive bolt pistol. Oh, okay. So that's the thing that pops through their head. They're stunned before they're killed using a captive bolt pistol, i.e. a variation on the freaky weapon wielded by Javier Bardem in No Country for Old Men. He had that thing and he turned on the air and it just shoots a bolt that goes through a skull. A variation on the freaky weapon wielded by Javier Bardem in No Country for Old Men, which forcefully strikes the forehead of the doomed animal, rendering it unconscious and therefore unable to feel pain before it hits the killing floor. So, yeah, they have various methods of trying to make it as painless as possible for the animal. So you could give it a shock. You can put a bolt through its head or something like that. The idea is something that's quick, as opposed to slicing it and letting it slowly bleed out. But when it comes to halal slaughter, the issue of pre-dispatch stunning is a fraught one. So yeah, I'm wondering too why they don't. Oh, they explain it. They explain why the halal camp doesn't want to stun them. Okay, here we go. The word halal translates to what is permissible and is the opposite of haram or forbidden. In order for an animal's slaughter to be considered halal, it must be healthy and free from suffering prior to its death. It must be killed by a believer. Okay, so that's one thing. The animal has to be slaughtered by a Muslim. It must be killed by a believer via that means that if all of your chicken at KFC in Canada is going to be halal certified, then all of your food had to be killed by a Muslim. It must be killed by a believer via a sharp incision to its neck. The name of Allah must be invoked at the time of death. That's the issue that is a concern to some Christians, based on what Paul says in 1 Corinthians 8 and 1 Corinthians 10. We'll take a look at those passages. The name of Allah must be invoked at the time of death, and its death must come as the result of blood loss. Okay, so the animal has to die from bleeding out. Because Muslims are forbidden to consume blood, the animal must bleed out completely before it's cooked. What's that?
That's why I left Islam, because
you wanted
it's
the
haram
blood.
to drink blood.
Yeah, you wanted the blood. Here's why they're opposed to stunning the animal and insisting, no, you tie the animal up and then slit its throat and let it slowly bleed out. Some Muslim authorities worry that a stun gun might stop an animal's heart prior to the ritualistic neck cut that is supposed to kill it, rendering it not halal. So if you stun it, they're worried that this might actually stop its heart or something like this, and then it's not bleeding out properly. All the blood's not coming out. You've done this all, and so this thing isn't even halal. You've stunned it, and now you're making it not halal. Halal slaughterhouses that subscribe to this belief don't employ the pre-death stun. And if something goes wrong with that neck cut, if it's not fast enough or clean enough and fails to sever the carotid arteries and jugular veins as it's intended to, and the animal takes a long time to die, that's where the question of animal welfare comes in. And I have seen issues like that where people are, it's taking a long time to kill animals. You got people and their knife is dull and so on. And there are all those kinds of criticisms. I'm looking, seeing if we want to continue reading this, but we already got the idea. So so again, you can object to the idea of creeping Sharia. So you're just opposed to things becoming more Sharia compliant, which is what happens when corporations start adopting halal food restrictions and so on. You can have an ethical objection to the way the animals are treated. In other words, if you had 2 cows and one is killed using the halal method and the other one is killed using what are now normal methods, you stun the animal, it's not feeling anything, and you kill it. You'd say, okay, this one doesn't involve the animal suffering, this one does, therefore I would prefer this other one. So you could object to the halal method, the halal system. And then you could have a religious objection because the name of Allah is being pronounced over this animal. They give the Bismillah and they say Allahu Akbar after every little chicken. Every chicken that's killed, it would have to be killed. Every chicken that you are going to eat in Canada at KFC, mind you, that animal was slaughtered by a Muslim and the name of Allah was pronounced over it. So multiple objections you could have to all of that. We will explore these here.
You know what the funny thing about all of this is? In the Quran, it actually let me check that. But in Islam, it's actually originally acceptable to also eat meat that was slaughtered and provided by Christians and Jews. So that is actually permitted. However, over history, there has been disagreement on how that rule is applied and if it is applicable or not. Some the major mainstream, Muslims, many of the schools still say, yeah, this applies. I mean, this is a command, so it applies. We can eat if Christians slaughtered it, as long as it's not, pork or something other than something that we're not allowed to eat by nature. Others say no, that only applied at a certain time or only to Christians and Jews before the arrival of Islam, but is no longer valid. What probably happened is, again, in this case, Muhammad making rules based on what he thinks Jews and Christians are and what they do. And later, of course, after Muhammad's death, they pretty much find out that that Christians and Jews don't act like Muslims at all. And then they're like, wait a minute, Christians don't do this whole stuff that we do. So are we really allowed to eat their food or not? So there's a whole dispute about that. Yes.
We got multiple disputes. Another one is, so here you have it in KFC. I'm trying to think of the time when I talked about this before, not during a live stream. This is back in the blogging days. But the reason it came up back then was, I think it was the UK. I'm not positive because it's a long time. It's probably over 10 years ago. But the issue that came up back then was schools in the UK, I think it was the UK, were in certain areas were switching to halal only meat. And it was but think about this, because it's an example of what happens to the entire society eventually. You've got kids, right? You've got kids. And all of a sudden you end up with lots of Muslims in the school. And the Muslim parents are complaining, hey, you have the school lunches and they're not halal. So they need to be halal. And so they keep complaining and keep complaining and keep complaining. And then, for the sake of inclusion, the school decides to serve only halal food. Oh, what's that do? Now your halal certification is being imposed on all the kids in the name of inclusion. And so now you just change the diets of everyone at the school, including the non-Muslim kids, so that those non-Muslim kids are eating Sharia compliant meals for the sake of inclusion. So that's why I looked into this a long time ago. But guys, that's exactly what happens in a society. And you can see it happening in Canada. It's, hey, your restaurant needs to cater to Muslims for the sake of inclusivity. And so, okay, well, we'll change all the rules. But now that's imposed on everyone. And now everyone there has to go through, everyone who works there has to go through re-education and learn how to do everything the Islamic way. And it's like, do you really want that? You really want that? You want every supermarket, every business, every company, every restaurant has to keep going more and more Sharia compliant over time. Wild, wild stuff. All right, we'll take some super chats, and then we're going to look at the religious objection, ladies and gentlemen. The religious objection. So we're gonna read some passages from the Bible. In which case, AP is probably going to burst into flames upon hearing.
Go read something from the Bible.
Okay. DC says, it sounds like I should bring the progressive pride flag niqab I made for my own comedic ventures with me to Ohio. Trying to think of where that would be relevant, DC, because as I've said, no one has ever ordered more Queers for Palestine merchandise than I ordered the other day. Because I didn't know what we were going to, you kind of don't know until you pull it out of the box. It's going to work or something like this, and we don't want our outfits to clash, because that would be a dead giveaway that we're not actually Queers for Palestine, right? These guys are going to have very well coordinated, very nice outfits and so on. So anyway, I got a bunch of hats. I got various glasses, various shirts, wristbands. What are they called? Boas, those things that people wear, those feather things that people wear around their necks. Got it all. Various hair colorings. I got a blue wig for AP so he can be gay P.
I already have a blue wig. What do you want?
Well, I didn't know if you were going to bring it, so I got you one.
Of course I'm going to bring it. What are you talking about?
I got 4 different colors of hair wax for my hair, so my whole entire head can literally be a pride flag. But it's going to be actually.
You know what we should do?
What?
We should also do an extra episode or a different video where a neo-Nazi, an Islamist, and a leftist progressive guy together meet Muhammad and like talk to him with complete admiration and all that.
That is weird how basically nothing unites all these groups except hatred of Jews and love for Muhammad. That's it. Those are the only 2 things that can unite all these very otherwise very opposed to one another groups.
It's so ridiculous, man.
You think?
Man.
Mike Winger is the type of guy to go to a KFC and ask, "Are there any vegetarian options?" Yeah, we can give you a chicken club sandwich without the chicken. Hi, another wingling here. Okay, another guy I have to block. Hosta Mahogany. Remember to block that guy later. Hi, another wingling here. I actually clicked on this video thinking that David Wood was Mike Winger. I always thought Mike was pretty cool. Regards. Oh gosh, there's so much wrong with that comment. I'm just going to pretend that never happened, and I will delete this part of the live stream afterwards.
Alhamdulillah, that's beautiful.
Don't get rid of Dawa guys. They are destroying. We don't want to get rid of the Dawa guys. What would we do without them? If it weren't for the Dawa guys admitting that everything we say is true, that we'd still be stuck in this situation where people deny everything we say and call us liars. We need more Dawa guys, ladies and gentlemen. More Dawa guys.
That's what they do.
Mike Winger.
Canada has KFC. I thought they only had maple syrup.
When you visit the shrine of Diha al-Kalbi in Israel, bring a UV LED in case the followers of Muhammad followed his pattern of conduct. Ugh, nasty, gross.
Man.
Mike Winger is the type of confused Caleb to be stranded in a desert and hallucinate a picnic, and when he tries to eat it, he gets a mouthful of sand. That does sound like Mike Winger. He wouldn't know what to do. Off topic, D. Wood, do you know Sam Shamoun personally? I'm curious about his anti-Zionist approach and Christians are the real Jews attitude. There's a follow-up here. I've been sending Muslims I try to convert to him, and one guy sent me his live stream from the start of the war, and I was super surprised by it. Yeah, haven't been following the exchanges over there.
Yeah, I know a little bit about his stance on Judaism, and he's not a great fan of Judaism. So yeah, you should probably know that.
You see, I told you KFC was halal. Muhammad Hijab. Wait, what? Wasn't KFC one of the places that was getting banned for being in Israel or something like that? I thought I saw a Muslim saying, I don't care if they go halal because they support Israel. And so that would be interesting if they actually can't win over the Muslim population. Although I have to say, Muslims in Canada seem to be excited that KFC is going full Sharia compliant. Maybe that's their response. Maybe there were Muslims saying, no, KFC is in Israel. I don't know if that's true, but I saw Muslims saying that. Maybe that's their way to get back in their good graces. Guys, would it make you feel better if we went full Sharia compliant? Oh, yes, that'd be okay.
I just checked. I just checked it on the website. There is a website to find what brands are on the boycott list and which ones are not. It says here that KFC is on the list.
On the list.
Parent company Yum Brands is an investor in Israeli startups. Therefore, don't eat from KFC restaurants. Don't work at KFC restaurants.
Okay, yeah. So they could have just decided on this because they have obviously they have Muslims in their committees and stuff, but it's also possible that they're how can we get ourselves off this boycott list, guys? If we go full Sharia compliant, make all our stuff halal, will you let us slide? Tommy Sotomayor is another person that's recently made a video about how you can't question October 7th or the Holocaust. What are you talking about? I can't go online without seeing a trillion people questioning October 7th. And I mean, you can find his stupid discussion on October 7th over on Rumble. Not interested. But the guys who say, we can't even talk about this. What are you talking about? You're practically all I hear on this issue. There's a bunch of people saying, no, nothing happened. They didn't do anything. I mean, you literally had Roger Waters on Piers Morgan saying it never happened. None of it. It didn't happen. They weren't doing anything. They just went over there for hugs. Okay.
I mean, they are. You see, I see them on Twitter every day. They get like I don't know, 60,000 likes saying we can't even talk about this. We can't even talk about this. And not just October 7th, even the Holocaust nowadays. They're like, oh, they're saying so many Jews were killed. Where's the proof? There is actually no proof. It's a hoax.
And we can't even say it. We can't even say it.
And they're not allowing us to say it. Nobody
won't say it.
Nobody allows us to say it.
I'm sitting here saying it 15 times a day for the past 8 months, and everything, and I've got 2 million followers, and everything I say gets 60,000 likes, but I'm not allowed to say it. Why am I not allowed to question this? Why? I don't know why I'm oppressed. The Jews are oppressing me. The Jews won't let me say this all day, every day on Twitter.
If you even begin typing it, they will come and knock at your door. And
as soon as you do, they blow up your house, and it's Mossad, man. No, I mean, think seriously. Guys, I mean, they kind of expose themselves. If they really thought that the moment you criticize Israel, Jews are going to sweep in and destroy your life and so on, would they be just running their mouths about it constantly? No. They know nothing happens to them and so on. With that said, it has been pointed out. With that said, we have pointed out that we are in a stage right now where, because of recent events, it has become far more acceptable for people to be constantly complaining about Jews and blaming Jews for everything. So they feel free to post things all over the internet. That time is not going to last forever, but the internet is forever, my friends. And all these people who are posting all this stuff 5 years from now, when they're trying to do something else, It's not going to be Jews. It's going to be people like us. Hey, didn't you say this 5 years ago? It's going to be people like us. It's just amazing that you have people like us who will respond to stuff just because it's evil. And people will say something that's completely stupid and insane. And we'll say, hey, that's stupid and insane. Here's why. And, you see, the Jews are controlling everything. Can it just be people who think you're stupid and insane? Can it just be regular people who think you're stupid and insane? Why does it have to be the Jews? In other words, you don't need the Jews to respond. You just say some stupid, insane, evil stuff. We'll respond.
Isn't it just so pathetic? I can't think of anything more pathetic right now than being one of two groups. One is the Islamists, or many of the Muslims actually, and then the other is the white nationalist, supposed white nationalist people who are actually totally Nazis and gropers and jobless little people. Who consider themselves so great and so superior, but their biggest trouble, their biggest obsession right now is that they are unfortunately suffering because of the Jews, because the Jews are in charge and they're taking control and they're not allowing us to be as great as we actually are. These handful of people, these small people, these tiny little people who are weaklings, they're just in control. That's why we don't achieve anything. Isn't this so pathetic, man?
Absolutely. Indeed. Rogue Provisionist says, I saw a post that says if the 10 Commandments are posted in Louisiana schools, then also the 5 pillars of Islam should also be posted. Thoughts? Well, again, I don't know what the purpose of posting the 10 Commandments in schools is. You do have issues with it, such as the separation of church and state in the U.S., as far as if a school is actually posting something from a particular religion, is that the school promoting that religion? And so you'd have issues there. But if you did, let's suppose you said, hey, we're going to have the 10 Commandments. Does that mean you also need to post the 5 pillars? There you'd have to say, if you're going to post something from any religion, you would have to post everything from every religion. And I don't know why you'd have to do that, but it would open doors. So I don't even know why you want to. Again, normally when I say, hey, we got the 10 Commandments posted there, it seems more of a flex to me. It seems more of a, hey, we got our way on this issue, rather than here's something that's really going to make a difference in people's lives. So you have any thoughts on any of this, AB?
Yeah, I think if you're going to post the 10 Commandments, you should also post the commandments of the religion of atheism and of agnosticism.
The satanic. What's their handbook called? Do they call it the Satanic Bible or whatever?
Yeah.
They have something like that, right? You guys have something like that, right? Well, now you're an agnostic, so you don't adhere to that. But when you were an atheist, you had this.
I was reading it every night. I was reciting it every night. I was like,
hey,
reciting it every night. Yeah.
That was the worst thing I've ever heard in my life. Hey, check this out. Inclusivity equals all female cashiers must speak to customers via whiteboards. Alhamdulillah. We should do a skit. Where welcome to KFC. A guy walks in, wants a chicken sandwich, and he walks in, and a woman, a cashier, holds up a little sign, welcome to KFC. and then he's saying stuff, and she's writing, do you want fries with that? That would be funny. I guess the practice of cutting the chicken necks and letting it run around bleeding out will bring in more customers. Yeah, you. As far as me and AP seem to be on the same page. As far as we're not actively looking usually to oh no, this thing is halal certified or something like that. But there are people who would be opposed to it if they understood it, and so you basically want people to be informed, such that because you have people who have no idea what halal means, what halal food means. But if they did know, they might not want. It's like there are people who, if they understood how this food was produced or something like that, they wouldn't want it. Should you inform them? Maybe. So you might want to tell people what halal certification involves, because they might say, "Oh, then I don't want that." Well, good thing Popeyes crushes KFC. Speaking as a Canadian, I think this our Prime Minister trying to make for going back face with turban. Where did we eat when we were in Queens, AP? We ate chicken. Remember when we got back from Israel, we ate chicken? Was that KFC or was that a Popeyes or what was that?
I think it was Popeyes.
Okay. All right. Just checking. If so, then I don't think I've eaten a KFC in like 10 years. I remember my last experience. I went and ordered a little basket of chicken and it was like pure grease. And obviously it's just, it's just that location. It's just that location, but it was like drenched in grease. And I was like, this is disgusting. Is KFC falling off? Did they just, because when I was growing up, KFC was awesome, man. You get some chicken and biscuits and mashed potatoes and gravy and stuff like that. That was a good meal. Anyway, I went there one day. I was like, have they just fallen off? I'm not interested in eating here anymore. And I haven't, don't think I've eaten there since that disgusting experience, but I'm assuming it's better in other places. But yeah, Popeyes might be better.
Alhamdulillah.
Let's see. Hey, David, I saw Carlos Xavier on your channel debating Anthony Rogers on the Trinity. That must have been years ago. I've been considering challenging him myself on that same topic. Do you think I should? Chaos, I'm not your boss. If you want to be completely humiliated due to your lack of debate experience, then by all means, challenge people. No, seriously, Chaos, if you want to get in debates, it's good to do lots of debates.
Lots of them.
Search AliExpress World War II German costume. You're welcome.
Huh.
Well,
I would never check there. So
AliEx World War II German costume. AliEx.
Huh.
What? Did something come up for you? Nothing came up for me.
A few things, yes. I'll look at that.
Okay. But you already have your costume that you wear every day when you're not live.
Yeah, but that's different. That's for my personal interest. Yeah.
Stefan says, give them a secular inch, they take a Sharia mile. That is the concern, guys. And again, that's why you might want to be concerned. If you don't care, I don't care. I don't care how KFC prepares this chicken. I don't care who slaughters the chicken and so on. You might want to care about, again, the issue of creeping Sharia and slowly changing your entire society one step at a time. Good chickens are halal if they're clucking lying. Good chickens are halal if they're clucking lying.
Yeah.
Apostate Plus Tax says female KFC workers need to be required to wear a niqab. Niqab and whiteboard. We've got niqab and whiteboard so far, ladies and gentlemen. And Mike Winger is the type of person who doesn't have super chat, so I can't make him read awful Gen Z slang or song lyrics. Yeah, what a little weakling.
He doesn't have super chat? What the?
What a dork. You see that? Doesn't want to interact with fans.
Wow. I was on the fence regarding the whole Mike Winger issue, but hearing this is just wow. I don't know.
We have another anti-Wingerling here. You see, this is how it happens. People find out. The more you find out, it's the same thing with Islam. The more you find out, the more opposed you are to it. And Mike Winger, no super chats. Why? Has nothing but contempt for his fans. Doesn't want to hear from them. Nothing but contempt. Regards them as less than worthless.
Wow.
This is what these guys do.
This makes me sick.
All right, we'll get back to the rest of these super chats here in a few. We want to check out a Bible passage or two. Be prepared, AP, to cry your little eyeballs out. Oops. 1 Corinthians 8, plasma. Where is this? Where'd it go?
You see, David doesn't know how to use it.
There we go. Concerning food sacrificed to idols. This is a short chapter. Matter of fact, this is a short chapter. We'll just read this chapter. It's only like, what, 9 verses or something like that? How long is this? 13 verses. All right. Now about food sacrificed to idols, like Allah. Food sacrificed to idols. So this is a concern that that some Christians have. So again, you can have the concern. Well, there's another concern that I haven't mentioned yet. Matter of fact, let's name all the concerns right now, and there could be more. So one, you can be opposed to. You can have an ethical objection to the way halal food is prepared, namely to the fact that animals are suffering need more than they need to. You can kill the animals. And in our time, keep in mind it's different. If you're centuries ago, something like that, when you don't have something to shock them with or something like that, you're in a different situation. But we are at a point in society where you can slaughter an animal without hurting it more than is needed. And so because the halal certification team is concerned about the animal's heart stopping because of the shock or something like that before it completely bleeds out, they make the animal suffer significantly more than it needs to. You can have that ethical objection. You could be concerned about sort of giving into Sharia, either in this particular business or in a school, if the school is going halal and so on. You could object to that sort of thing, the sort of creeping Sharia. You can have a religious objection, which is what we're going to look at here. And you can have a financial concern, namely that if you are funding the halal certification industry, and you are insisting that Muslims are basically controlling this industry, well, these are people who are also, paying their zakat and so on, and you're funding Islam. Big picture, you're funding Islam, right? You're funding, and that money gets sent back to places like Saudi Arabia and so on. Some of it, portions of it. So those are the main categories of things that someone could be concerned about. As for the religious objection, which would be, should Christians eat halal food? And keep in mind, when I'm talking about the religious objection, I'm talking about the religious objection isolated from the other concerns. In other words, a Christian could also be concerned about the treatment of the animals and say, I don't want an animal that I'm eating to suffer more than is needed. So you could have the other objections. You could object to Sharia. You could object to financially supporting Islamic institutions and so on. You could object to all that. I'm saying if you ignored all that stuff and just focused on the purely religious aspect, namely that your food is killed with the name of Allah pronounced over it. Yeah. And is said, Allahu Akbar over your food and the Bismillah over your food. Is that if you eat that food, are you in violation of the words of Paul in 1 Corinthians 8 and 10? So that's what we're going to check out now. So you could have all these other objections. If this is your objection, let's go ahead and read the passage. Concerning food sacrificed to idols. Now, about food sacrificed to idols, we know that we all possess knowledge, but knowledge puffs up while love builds up. Those who think they know something do not yet know as they ought to know, but whoever loves God is known by God. So then, about eating food sacrificed to idols. We all know that an idol is nothing at all in the world, and that there is no God but one. So here Paul's talking about, it's sacrifice an idol. What is an idol? We don't care. It's nothing. It's not something to be you don't have to be concerned that this idol is actually this living thing. For even if there are so-called gods, whether in heaven, on earth, as indeed there are many gods and many lords, yet for us there is but one God, the Father, from whom all things came and for whom we live. And there is but one Lord, Jesus Christ, through whom all things came and through whom we live. But not everyone possesses this knowledge. Some people are still so accustomed to idols that when they eat sacrificial food, they think of it as having been sacrificed to a god. And since their conscience is weak, it is defiled. But food does not bring us near to God. We are no worse if we do not eat, and no better if we do. So keep in mind the reasoning here. Paul is saying, hey, if my sandwich, let's say my sandwich was sacrificed to an idol, should I care that my food is sacrificed to an idol? No, the idol is nothing. But he says, but there are people that this might bother. There are people that this might bother. So he says, not everyone possesses this knowledge. In other words, not everyone possesses the knowledge that this idol is just a joke. Some people think of this as they're actually, being sacrificed to gods and so on. So verse 9, be careful, however, that the exercise of your rights does not become a stumbling block to the weak. So that's Paul's concern in this passage. You're not concerned about your food being sacrificed to an idol, but someone else might be. Be careful, however, that the exercise of your rights does not become a stumbling block to the weak. For if someone with a weak conscience sees you, with all your knowledge, eating in an idol's temple, won't that person be emboldened to eat what is sacrificed to idols? So this weak brother or sister for whom Christ died is destroyed by your knowledge. When you sin against them in this way and wound their weak conscience, you sin against Christ. Therefore, if what I eat causes my brother or sister to fall in sin, I will never eat meat again, so that I will not cause them to fall. Now, as far as the historical context here, this is Paul's letter to the Corinthians. So Christians are a minority, a small minority in a pagan culture. Notice what he says here. Eating in verse 10, if someone with a weak conscience sees you with all your knowledge, eating in an idol's temple. So he's talking about food that's actually sacrificed as part of ritual sacrifice in the temple of an idol, right? And so think about this. If you grow up in Corinth, I think they had the big temple of Aphrodite there and so on. So that's what it would have been. You go to the temple of Aphrodite for a meal or something like that. Suppose someone says, hey, come to the temple of Aphrodite for this meal. And you're like, okay, I don't believe in Aphrodite, so I don't really care if you sacrifice that food to Aphrodite. I don't believe in Aphrodite. I don't believe Aphrodite is an actual living thing. Doesn't bother me at all. But you have other, let's say, new Christians who are coming out of paganism, and they see you over there eating at the temple of Aphrodite, and they're thinking, wait a minute, what's going on here? There's food sacrificed to Aphrodite. What's going on here? This guy's over here eating there. So what? But they still think of it as food sacrificed to gods. And so they think you're doing it, and okay, if he's doing it, then I can do it, and it's okay. But they still think of this not as something that's sacrificed to a lifeless, hunk of rock or statue or something like that. They're thinking of this as something sacrificed to gods, and it affects them. Paul says you should be worried about that. So you're not actually concerned about the food or about the idol or about any of that. You're concerned about other people. That's what he thinks you should be concerned about. So that's one passage. We're going to look at one more. We'll look at part of chapter 10 is relevant as well. Part of chapter 10.
Aphrodite is kind of based, though.
I'm based.
Fair enough.
Did you agree? All right, so let's read this. Let's read this little part of 1 Corinthians 10, and these are basically the main passages that have to deal with this issue. All right, idol feasts and the Lord's Supper. By the way, I do have to emphasize here, what in that other passage in 1 Corinthians 8. Remember, he's clearly talking about something prepared as some sort of worship or sacrifice. He talks about being in the idol's temple and so on. And here it's in the context of the Lord's Supper. So this is specifically having to do with religious practices and so on. He says, therefore, my dear friends, flee from idolatry. I speak to sensible people. Judge for yourselves what I say. Is not the cup of thanksgiving for which we give thanks so he's talking about the Lord's Supper here. Is not the cup of thanksgiving for which we give thanks a participation in the blood of Christ? And is not the bread that we break a participation in the body of Christ? Because there is one loaf, we who are many are one body, for we all share the one loaf. So we share the cup, we share a loaf of bread, and we are united. Consider the people of Israel. Do not those who eat the sacrifices participate in the altar? So as part, you can look at the Old Testament rituals. You do your sacrifice, and then a portion is given to you to eat from your sacrifice at the altar. Consider the people of Israel. Do not those who eat the sacrifices participate in the altar? Do I mean then that food sacrificed to an idol is anything, or that an idol is anything? No. But the sacrifices of pagans are offered to demons, not to God, and I do not want you to be participants with demons. So here's different. Before he's saying, the idol is just nothing and so on, and he says, do I say that an idol is anything? No, not saying that. But then he goes on to say that these things are sacrificed to demons. You cannot drink the cup of the Lord and the cup of demons too. You cannot have a part in both the Lord's table and the table of demons. Are we trying to arouse the Lord's jealousy? Are we stronger than he? So some people read this passage and they say, oh, okay, you can't participate in the Lord's table and be a participant with demons. And therefore, if you've got a chicken and it's sacrificed to Allah or something like that, then what's going on there? Again, keep in mind, he's talking about the Lord's Supper here. He's talking about the Lord's Supper here. So a meal that Christians would share, should you be including food that's sacrificed to demons? Is he talking about never, ever having food sacrificed to demons? Well, let's go ahead and keep reading, because he can't mean that, because he goes on to say he really doesn't care. As far as if the food is sacrificed to something, he doesn't care. It's not something that would affect a Christian. So the believer's freedom. But he goes back to saying that his issue is he's concerned with people. Paul is concerned with people and their consciences. He's not concerned with the idol or demons or anything else. I have the right to do anything, you say, but not everything is beneficial. I have the right to do anything, but not everything is constructive. No one should seek their own good, but the good of others. Eat anything sold in the meat market without raising questions of conscience, for the earth is the Lord's and everything in it. So how this would work is you would sacrifice your animal to Aphrodite. Some of that would be part of the temple worship. Some of it would be sold in the meat market. Paul says if you're going and buying a steak, don't even ask. Don't even ask what this was sacrificed to. Why? The earth is the Lord's and everything in it. Everything is the Lord's. It's all God's. If an unbeliever invites you to a meal and you want to go, so if some pagan, some polytheist who worships Aphrodite says, hey, you want to come over for a meal? If an unbeliever invites you to a meal and you want to go, eat whatever is put before you without raising questions of conscience. So don't bother asking. Don't bother asking, hey, was this sacrificed to Aphrodite? I really want to know. But if someone says to you, here's where he's concerned about other people. But if someone says to you, this has been offered in sacrifice, then do not eat it, both for the sake of the one who told you and for the sake of conscience. I am referring to the other person's conscience, not yours. For why is my freedom being judged by another's conscience? If I take part in the meal with thankfulness, why am I denounced because of something I thank God for? So you thank God for the meal, but someone else raises an objection and says, hey, this food was sacrificed to Aphrodite. Why does Paul think that you should be concerned there? Well, if it's a Christian who says, hey, don't you know that this has been sacrificed to Aphrodite? This is obviously a Christian who thinks that this is actually participating in the worship of Aphrodite, in which case, don't eat it because it's going to be bothering that Christian. If it's an unbeliever, so a polytheist who says, hey, this is sacrificed to Aphrodite, that person is interpreting you eating it as somehow being involved in the worship of Aphrodite. So in other words, if the people around you are thinking that this has something to do with you worshiping Aphrodite or something like that, then don't do it. It's not that important. And then you have here at the end, so whether you eat or drink or whatever you do, do it all for the glory of God. Do not cause anyone to stumble, whether Jews, Greeks, or the church of God, even as I try to please everyone in every way, for I'm not seeking my own good, but the good of many so that they may be saved. So if you eating a certain thing is going to cause a problem for people who are associating that with worship, then don't do it. And that would be the idea. But apart from that, Paul doesn't consider the idol to actually be anything that could harm you, or that you're necessarily somehow worshiping if you eat something that was sacrificed to, again, let's say Aphrodite or something. So with all that said, should I care if someone slaughtered an animal and pronounced the name of Allah over it? Based on that passage, no, I shouldn't care. But there are Christians who are concerned about this. So if there are Christians who are concerned about eating halal meat, should you? Now, obviously, if I'm at home and I got some halal meat and no one knows about it, that would be a separate issue. But should you, let's say, not eat at KFC because now it's known as halal compliant, fully Sharia compliant, at least in Canada?
Is there a correct answer and a wrong answer?
I'm asking people what they think on this issue. So, guys, what do you think? So, keep in mind, guys, I'm only referring to the idea: does eating halal chicken at KFC violate 1 Corinthians 8 and 1 Corinthians 10? Because you'd be eating halal food, and there are people. Let's say there are people around you, and they know it's halal food or something like that. Keep in mind, I'm not talking about the issue of Sharia. I'm not talking about where this money is going, if this is being used to send money to the Muslim world or something like that. Not talking about the ethical objection to the way the animals are slaughtered. Does eating at KFC, and keep in mind, I'm not, because people are saying, I'm not going to eat it. We're not talking about whether you're going to eat it. We're talking about, do you think that eating at a KFC in Canada that serves halal chicken is a violation of 1 Corinthians 8 and 10? And I'm still getting objections that are related to other issues, like, do not consume anything that pays halal tax to Muslims. That is a completely legitimate concern if you want to know where the money is going. And that's true of all business, not just Muslim businesses. You could say, this company over here gives money to this organization that I don't wish to support. So these are, this is just being careful of where your money goes and stuff like that. Let's go ahead and see. Let's see. Let me just put a bunch of these responses up. That's the question. Yeah, that is the question. Let's see. Every business that caves into Islam should be boycotted by non-Muslims. I do wonder, though, how effective the boycotts are. It seems like you have these companies like Bud Light, and they'll do something, then people boycott them, but then they bounce back 6 months later or something like that.
In most of the cases, the boycotts are very ineffective and don't overall matter in the history of the companies. If boycotts were effective, the BDS boycotts, the anti-Israel boycotts would be effective. They're not working.
Knox says, I am haram 24/7. Bacon is too good.
Ooh, that's base.
He likes some bacon. Jeremy says, it does violate the gospel. So that's interesting. So the claim is that eating the KFC chicken, if it's halal, would violate the gospel. Gray Jedi says yes. So I assume that's I assume that's a response to the question: does eating at KFC violate 1 Corinthians 8 and 10? He says no. So he's saying no, it doesn't. It doesn't violate it, but I would pray over it. NY says, I think it violates my conscience. Mm-hmm. We already know it's halal, so we shouldn't eat it. So you do know. So here's a response to Paul saying, hey, don't even ask what this meat was sacrificed to. So here the objection is, but you already know. If they've announced that it's halal certified, then it's not like you don't know. Matt James says, never liked KFC anyway. I used to. Again, last experience was bad. My spirit says no. So at this point, I don't know if that's no, don't eat it, or no, it doesn't violate 1 Corinthians. Dry Bones says depends. That seems most relevant to the passage, because that's basically Paul's response. Hey, is it wrong to eat this meat? Depends. Depends on if it's going to bother someone, something like that. Do not consume. Oh, I already saw that one. Should Christians pay for halal when it's registration money for terrorism? Again, we have Ronan again. Ronan here with depends. Boycott halal everywhere. JD, I would not eat halal food. Bo Rudder, no, their chicken makes me fat. That's a different objection. So that's a completely different objection. Namely, is KFC healthy for you? Let's see. It's beyond chicken.
When we speak of idols, does it also apply to like American Idol, for example?
Obviously.
Okay.
Protestant believer here says, there's nothing outside the man which can defile. So this is Mark 7:15. There's nothing outside the man which can defile him if it goes into him, but the things which proceed out of the man are what defile the man. Yeah, that's a similar principle to what the Apostle Paul is talking about. If you're eating meat that's been sacrificed to an idol, what do you think it's going to do to you? Do you actually believe that there's something out there that you are participating in the sense that it's going to affect you?
Well, in the case of American Idol, it's actually something that really exists. So.
Don't engage in the ritual. Just eat the chicken. And here we have some of the other ones. No halal food. Halal funds the organization of the Muslim Brotherhood.
It's based.
Islam is dead as fried chicken. Zach10 says, since they're bragging about it, I think a boycott is appropriate. I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know. Who's going to boycott it? Canadians? That's what you're going to boycott, Canadians? All the stuff that's going on over there? That's what you're going to? Knox here says, if there are fellow Christians present. So if there were other Christians, and again, if you were actually applying the principle, you'd have to say, are those Christians bothered by it? And let me see. Let's go read a few more. I don't know. It does not, but I prefer my food haram. So it doesn't violate 1 Corinthians 8 and 10, but he still prefers haram food. No, because they are promoting Islam in a way. So again, that's a different objection, that this is all like complying with Islam. All right. So matter of fact, gosh, there's a bunch of these. Yoking and supporting evil is sinful. I do everything I can to avoid halal food. Yep. That is apparently an response to, does it violate 1 Corinthians? Sarah here says, I think it's on an interpersonal case-by-case basis with the people in your life. It seems to be up to individual conscience, but for me personally, it's nope. Did the chicken, that's the real question, did the chicken pray 5 times?
That's important.
And we have, you shouldn't eat at KFC because it's not tasty, because it's not halal. Not because it's halal. And then Carolyn here says, no, it doesn't, unless it would hurt a weaker brother or sister. And then we have Caliber here saying, yes, it's a sacrifice to a false god. So, guys, we got pretty much every position that you could possibly have on this issue. What are you grinning at?
You know what's stupid? If Christians were like Muslims, somebody would probably come up with some really stupid idea like KFC actually stands for kill filthy Christians.
Yeah.
Therefore, we should boycott it.
Yeah, that would be. Maybe we just need to give up and be more like that. Guys, did you know that KFC stands for kill filthy Christians? Hey, I actually remembered when they tried to rebrand themselves years ago, because the company's originally called Kentucky Fried Chicken, but then when health concerns started taking over, the calling things fried, especially when they ended up with other menu options which are healthier, they want to be called fried chicken anymore, because it had, in lots of people's mind, that's unhealthy. So they tried to say it stands for kitchen fresh chicken. And that didn't last very long because everyone's like, we know what KFC stands for, you bunch of liars. Saying it stands for Kitchen Fresh. You guys remember those commercials?
That's weird.
Remember, they're sitting there with a bucket. They're going, KFC stands for Kitchen Fresh Chicken. I was like, what? You think it's like gaslighting, right? It's like, you guys can't gaslight us like that. We know what KFC stands for. A bunch of liars.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll just share my thoughts on this issue, guys. When you go to KFC, you're not going to some sort of like temple of an idol or something like that. You're not even trying to engage in some religious meal. Again, both the passages, 1 Corinthians 8 and 1 Corinthians 7, they seem to be in the context of some sort of ritual service and so on. So one, he talks about being in a temple, being in the temple of an idol. The other one he's talking about in the context of the Lord's Supper. And he talks about people, again, you are dealing with a pagan polytheistic culture and you're a Christian minority. Even if you have converts to Christianity, that paganism still was a lot of part of their lives and so on. So Paul's concerned about sort of a new believer, young believer, something like that, saying, oh, okay, this guy thinks it's still okay to go into the temple of Aphrodite and sit down for a meal and so on. And so, okay, I can too, when it's actually affecting that person differently. I just have to point out, we usually don't think like that of eating at a place like KFC, even with the halal certification. We're not thinking of this as some sort of, part of a religious ritual or something like that. Even with the killing, we're not thinking of this as like, I don't know. It's just we don't think of food like this anymore. And so just going to KFC with some other people, even if it's halal, you do. If someone was really bothered by this, by like halal certification or something like that, then yeah, you should be concerned about what that person is saying. I'm saying, I think there are far fewer even Christians who have the religious concern, namely this is sacrifice to Allah or something like that. There seem to be far fewer Christians who are going to be bothered by that. So it doesn't seem like it's going to rise and set. Keep it, guys. I'm not saying anything about all the other objections. My point is that I think the other objections are more of a concern. So, letting Sharia keep taking over and things like that. The treatment of the animal, where the money's going. I think these are kind of bigger concerns. There seems to be too many differences between what Paul's talking about in 1 Corinthians and what's going on at a KFC.
I don't know why you keep saying Farfour. That has nothing to do with the topic.
Mm-hmm. Dude, Farfour is always part of the topic. Let's be realistic here. Farfour is always... It's actually a funny line. Farfour is always on topic. Thing.
Did you notice how he kept saying Farfour, though?
Mm-hmm. I just randomly say Farfour whenever it's relevant.
The Farfour. That's interesting.
You know, to be funny, if Farfour did parkour.
Wow. Farfour parkour.
Farfour parkour.
That should be totally a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, guys. So those are my thoughts on basically the whole entire issue. In other words, with KFC going full halal, I'm more concerned about Sharia being implemented slowly but steadily in various institutions in the West. Then I'm concerned about, oh no, this is that chicken was sacrificed to Allah, and if I eat it, it's going to somehow pollute me or something like that. With that said, I probably won't be eating it at KFC anytime soon.
Never go full halal.
Because again, it's kind of a collection. It's kind of a collection of reasons, and I think those collected reasons add up to a pretty good one. And I'll say, even though I don't really think that, even though that if you took everything else off the table as far as all the other concerns and just focused on whether you as a Christian are violating 1 Corinthians 8 or 10 by eating a KFC chicken sandwich, there's something there. There's something there about once you factor in all of them. Should a Christian be involved in this? I'd have to say probably not. but not an absolute line. In other words, if I go over to someone's house and they've got KFC there or something like that, I'm not gonna be, I want to eat that, blah blah blah. But if I have all sorts of places to choose from of where to eat, and here's a non-Sharia compliant place, and here's a Sharia compliant place, I probably favor the not Sharia compliant place. Just my thoughts.
I would probably start a fight, a literal fist fight, if I went somewhere and I encountered
Hey,
KFC.
that would be funny. That would be funny. We could do a quick little skit on that. Let's just everyone walks in, it's like, hey, we got KFC, guys. You're like, what? You take the bucket and like throw it all over the floor. KFC is that'd be pretty fun.
Hey, this makes me think it would be funny to make some comedy skits about boycotting products. You know?
Yeah, because here's the thing. I don't want to actually like go out and boycott products, but I wouldn't mind making videos that are joking about boycotting products.
Yes. That's a good idea.
Yeah, we have to.
That sounds like some of those comedy skits that we talked about that we like from the culture.
Hey, you need to move like down the road from me, and then we can just knock out skits every day. Anytime we're like, hey, I just got an idea for a skit. Okay, let me get my camera. We'll go record the skit.
Yeah, we should do that.
Hey, who's that over there? Someone just gave 5 memberships. Pants Schmance. Shout out to Pants Schmance for gifting 5 Apologetics Roadshow memberships. All of you who just received a free membership, be sure to thank Pants Schmance. All right, let's go through Super Chats. Shake. Do I now have to say salad on the wall and inside out for the Prophet before eating a KFC drumstick?
Yes.
Yes, you do. Or else.
It's a well-known fact, yeah.
Mike Winger is the type of person to bring a food scale to McDonald's to check if it's really a quarter pounder.
I've discovered that this is 17 grams short of a quarter pounder, and I'd like to speak to the manager, please, about whether this place is guilty of false advertising.
Man.
Smart move. If all Canadians KFC halal, it means all will owned by Muslims, all vendors Muslims. They will be rich, will be able to bring more Muslims into Canada, a minority that will have lots of power. I guess it's only bad. I guess it's bad only Jews have that. That is funny that you've got people, you've got Dawa guys and so on trying to, we're going to take over the world and here's how we're going to do it. And they constantly accuse Jews of doing that, even though the Jewish population basically remains pretty static.
It's so dumb. Yeah, whatever. We can talk about it forever.
Hey, here you go. I might want to steal this line for something. Unlike the Quran, KFC's 11 secret herbs and spices have never been altered. They always say they use the same secret recipe.
Yeah.
Yep. Unlike the Quran, which changes all the time. Thanks to KFC, I got Dawa answers for Muslims. Muslims don't have to ever again wonder why Mo was wearing Aisha's clothes. Well, Jibril, aka Diha al-Kalbi, liked when Mo did dress up for him. Stay away from Islam, KFC.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, we have to wonder. You have all these isolated things, like these passages about Diha al-Kalbi being over Muhammad's house. He's like, no, it's the angel Gabriel. So you have those passages. Then you have the passages about him dressing up in Aisha's clothes and so on. And then you've got these other passages where Muhammad's covered in semen. And it's like, are these things connected or are they totally isolated?
I don't think that they're connected. There's no way they're connected. No way. It's not possible. Prove me wrong.
The funny part is that you can actually connect them. I've never got around to it. It's funny because it would literally only take me a couple minutes to make it for like Twitter or something like that. I just wanted the passage about that guy, about Muhammad pulling up his dress so this guy could kiss him all over his body, and then just saying 1 hour later, and then a passage about Aisha cleaning the semen off Muhammad's clothes.
I do think there might be some and there might be something to the theory that Muhammad was also sexually attracted to dogs, which is why when the whole with Dihi al-Kalbi and then his whole rejection of dogs, trying to have them all killed because of the repression, because of the social rejection of his sexual desire toward dogs and all that. There might be something to it, but I would like to look into this further.
How dare you make a prediction without qualifying it with the trajectory continuing?
That's beautiful.
Yeah. We got to say that. That's required. I don't think the sentencing is due to the meat not being halal per se, but because he falsified intercontinental trade documents and lied about the product. He was not delivering what he advertised. Oh, I agree that all of that is crimes. I'm just shocked that you get more for that than you get for murder. That's the point. Like, okay, falsifying a bunch of things, falsifying a bunch of paperwork and stuff like that, falsifying labels and so on. Is that 250 years? I don't think so. I don't think so. You can find if it was just they were also fining him $4.75 million or something like that. The fines I get, some prison time I could get and stuff like that. Just like it just reminds me of when I was like locked up and I'd be like, oh, okay, David, how long you serving? 10 years. What'd you do? Bashed a guy's head in with a hammer. How long you serving? Oh, I'm serving 12 years. What'd you do? I sold drugs. It would just be in my mind, like, you got more time than I did. You sold some drugs that people wanted to buy. People want to buy their. I agree. Drugs are a huge problem and so on. But how do you get more time for selling someone the drugs that they're trying to buy than I get for bashing a man's skull in? And it's similar here. I know all kinds of guys who are locked up for all sorts of things, manslaughter, murder, all that stuff. And they're getting less time than this guy did for mislabeling food. That's pretty creepy. What?
So weird. I'm just imagining a conversation like somebody who's in there for life.
Yeah.
Or somebody who's just getting out is talking to the other one who is in there for life. It's like, what are you here for? Oh, I killed a bunch of people and raped some of them and mutilated them, drank
Robbed
their
15
blood.
banks.
Yeah, robbed 15 banks right after that, and so on. But yeah, I'm getting out. So what are you doing? Oh, I sold halal products that weren't really halal.
I mislabeled some meat packages. Say hi to my family for me when you get out, because I'm never getting out. So Mr. Murderer, please go say hi to my family.
Beautiful.
How much do they pay people to say Allahu Akbar every time a chicken is killed? I could use a side gig. You know what I mean? Yeah, you could. You go in and get a job. All your entire job is to say Bismillah and Allahu Akbar over the chicken as it's being killed. Seems like a decent little job. 2001 Space Odyssey. HAL. What was it? The HAL 2000, HAL 1000, HAL 5000. I forget what it was.
Was it
HAL 9000?
I think it was 9,000.
I think it was halal. It was HAL 9000.
Yes, 9,000.
Yep, HAL 9000. You know what's funny? When I was trying to remember it, I was trying to remember it from the book and from the movie, and I couldn't remember it, but I remembered it from the Beastie Boys lyric. Don't ever trust the HAL 9000. That was in one of their songs.
I was just thinking, no, it is 9,000, but then I was wondering if I'm thinking of the...
It's over 9,000!
Or about that, yeah, exactly.
That was one of the times when I was starting to realize more so the difference between a woman's sense of humor and a guy's sense of humor. Me and Nabil were cracking up laughing, watching that over and over again. And our wives are just looking at us like, what the heck are you laughing at? Like they're grinning like sympathetically, like, oh yeah, that's cute and stuff. But they looked legitimately confused that we were cracking up laughing over. It's over 9,000!
That's good. That's good.
2001 Space Odyssey. HAL. Halal. HAL. Look, Dave, I can see you're really upset about this. I honestly think you ought to sit down calmly, take a stress pill, and think things over. Halal.
You have to be calmer. You have to be
Halal
calmer.
9,000.
Hey, we should have a Muhammad meets HAL 9,000.
That would be good. I put insult Mike Winger into an AI bot, and it came up with a 2,000 character, over 300 worded insult. and it's the funniest stuff I've ever read. Yeah, forward
That's
that to me. I'm interested in that. Send me that on Twitter or something like that. Or post the response in the comments here afterwards. Skibbity toilet. I still don't know what skibbity means, even though I've seen it like 80 times now. Adam Seeker in a live stream said animals are not slaughtered in actual halal way in West because animals are made unconscious before they are slaughtered. Yeah, that's what we're saying. Normally, animals are unconscious before they're slaughtered. What we've seen is that some of the halal organizations say you don't stun it beforehand, and so they don't practice that. Thank you for all that. Thank you for all that you do. Keep up the good work. We shall until we are dead. Does that also mean they only employ Muslims in slaughterhouses? Isn't that employment biased? I guess you could be non-Muslims working in certain ways, but yeah, the person actually killing the animal would have to be Muslim, right?
Alhamdulillah.
Now you know.
Yeah.
Also, it's not possible for all butchers to say Allahu Akbar when slaughtering the animals. Why not?
They all
If
have
you
to say
If you only get Muslims to do it.
Yeah.
That's a super sticker. Pair character.
You'll just have to say it. If they refuse to say it,
Mosh Cohen says the horseshoe theory makes a lot more sense now. Wait, what's that? The horseshoe theory. What's he talking about?
the horseshoe theory is this whole idea that that the politically moderate side is, imagine a horseshoe.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
Where the political extremes unite very much in their attitudes and their thinking and political positions. So the far right and the far left, if you go further and further, eventually come together in their attitudes.
Yeah,
and
it kind of proves the round Earth, right? You got these two groups, and they head in completely opposite directions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
Definitely.
then, oh, hi, Mark. Let's get rid of the Jews. Let's go get rid of all the Jews. And let's be best buddies with Islam. Right or far right or far left. Well,
I didn't expect the oh hi Mark.
what does the Wood think of putting links to Mike Winger's YouTube channel in every school?
Yes.
As like a warning against being a nerd and what your future could be like if you don't listen. That could help. That could help a lot of young kids. It's like Scared Straight program. You know what I mean? It's like Scared Straight. Like the classic Scared Straight program. You take a kid who's getting into some trouble, toss him in a prison with some inmates who talk about all the stuff they're going to do to him if he gets locked up, and then he scares him, and then he goes straight. Well, just imagine you take someone and say, hey, you could end up like a biggest nerd on the planet. Just look at this guy and be like, oh, okay. Start lifting weights.
Alhamdulillah.
Our KFC is going to have the adhan in stores now. Lol. Yeah. So we've got the call to, instead of going ding ding when you walk in, it'll be hello, Akbar, and you're greeted by a woman in a niqab who's writing on a whiteboard. Hey, anyone out there actually own a restaurant that could pass for a KFC inside? If so, we might want to travel there and record a little fun skit after hours, after closing.
That's a good idea.
I volunteer to play the kid when you want to reenact the Turkish origin story. We can premiere it on GoatHub. We're not reenacting that. We get banned for reenacting the perverted stories about the origin of the Turkish people.
It would have to be Wolf Hub. So we would have to create Wolf Hub.
Wolf Hub. Someone's got to make Wolf Hub now, and all it's going to be the biggest site in Turkey. Like, oh, I can't even be repulsed by it because this is where I come from.
Yeah.
AI wrote, if a black hole decided to get into if a black hole decided to get into the business of insults, it would hire Mike Winger as its poster child because even it would be embarrassed by the sheer vacuum of anything resembling a personality or achievement he brings to the table.
Based.
That's a pretty based response.
Yeah.
Who was the... Yeah, I like that. This makes me want to learn AI, just learn how to use AI just to get it to make cool insults about Mike Winger. Who was the Mike Winger of 7th century Arabia?
Abu Bakr. I don't know. It's a good question. This is actually an important question.
I'm trying to think. What the closest parallel is. I have to get back to me on that one. I will think about that. That's a serious and important question.
Yeah.
On X, I sent you a couple images from the new KFC commercial. One moment, everyone. I'm like 1,000% sure. Not gonna want to. He made them. He made them. He's got the colonel. He's got the colonel in a thaub, and we've got a woman serving in a niqab.
That's based.
Good. It's good. It's good to see what you do with your time next soccer night. Halal makes me so angry. What is wrong with these people? Barbarians. And again, it's this combination of issues where they say for inclusivity, we're making all our stuff halal certified. Well, guess what? A lot of your customers would want animals to suffer as little as necessary. And so you're basically saying, screw your ethical objections, screw your ethical concerns, screw any religious concerns, screw any concerns you might have about Sharia, screw any concerns you might have about where this money's going and so on. And we're saying screw you in every possible way to be more inclusive. No, you're not. You're backing down. You're backing down like cowards to the relentless Islam machine.
Backing down is based.
It is based as possible. AP, as a German/Turkish speaker, what's your honest opinion about English as a language? Asking as a language lover who speaks English and Russian. What's your perspective on it?
Very, very funny question. Very interesting question. Thought about that quite a bit in the past and also discussed it in the past. There are lots of opinions on it. But so English is very much based on an old Germanic language with heavy influence of many insertions from later French culture, the locals of the British Isles, and so on. It's very, very interesting. It's just it feels like often English is very much oversimplified, turned into a very simple language to make everything as simple and lazy as possible. But that's also a good thing, actually. You know, it's also a good thing. You could say you could be a critic of it and say, oh no, it's so simple. It's a stupid language. Some people call these stupid language, but that's actually a good thing, you know, because it's a language that you can communicate in very easily and very smoothly and very nicely, as opposed to a language like Persian, for example, which is a very, very, very artistic and sophisticated language, whereas we're saying. I need to go poop requires a lot of dancing around to form a proper sentence. So yeah, those are my thoughts.
Okay, if the entire world were just going to speak one language and the options were German, Turkish, or English, which would you choose? That's all you had to say.
German.
Great.
And one day it will happen.
No. I've shared my theory before about how language influences people's entire way of thinking. If everyone spoke German, the entire world would be at war instantly and would be destroyed.
German is the best.
That's probably why you like it. Mike Winger talking about Catholicism is like Ali Dawa talking about ozone layers. The 7 ozone layers, right? But how could anyone have known? Anyway.
People were saying there are 8 ozone layers, but
yeah,
now
I was saying there's 5
7
ozone layers, but he was saying. Should just build IKEA furniture so Trent doesn't bully him again. Yep. SNL Cluckin' Chicken is halal. Look it up. Yeah, I saw this comment pop up. So I looked at it. It is from 1993. That's Phil Hartman in the thumbnail. I will check that out as soon as we're done because I like that era of. But it's a commercial. It's a 2-minute commercial for Cluckin' Chicken. I will find out whether it is halal or not. The God has no power. It's the appearance that you are in agreement or covenant with those practices to that God. And that's what I'm talking about. That if you were in a temple of Aphrodite or something like that, eating a meal that's sacrificed to Aphrodite, I could see people getting that impression. If you were eating a halal certified chicken sandwich, I'd be surprised if people think, "Oh, you're in agreement and you've entered into covenant with the practices of the God Allah," or something like that. I'd be surprised if most people are I'd be surprised if anyone there is thinking that. So that's what I'm talking about. That things have changed and we're not thinking in those terms anymore. What if the food was sacrificed to Mike Winger? Then throw it in the garbage. Don't ever touch that.
That's based.
Mike Winger, the Wingalings. Mike Winger. Angelo says, would Matthew 15:11 apply? That's something similar to what Paul is saying. But that was brought up at the Mark passage. 1 Thessalonians 5, abstain from all appearance of evil. Yes, if you are giving the appearance of evil, then don't do that. I don't know that eating a chicken sandwich would be the appearance of evil. But if there are people, again, Paul's talking about people, if there are people who view that as really, really evil. In other words, if you're with someone who has a real problem with halal certification or something like that, just don't do it. And if you're deciding where to eat, you might want to steer clear of halal places. Mike Winger is the type of person that is a Discord Reddit moderator. Because you're laughing, he probably is. AI Mike Winger is the type of person who could make GPS feel inadequate with his unparalleled ability to navigate the vast wasteland of irrelevant information.
Wow. That sounds like the nerdiest insult I've ever heard in my entire life. So
I have to say that's a pretty nerdy.
Yeah.
Reject halal meat in public because it's the age of the internet and mass media. Weak Christians will be scandalized. We must protect them. Again, I think the religious objection, when isolated from other concerns, just thinking that you're sacrificing something that's sacrificed to I think that's the sort of the least relevant concern, given the differences in the situation and the way we just don't associate things with that anymore. But if you're factoring in everything, if you're factoring in everything else, it's probably a good idea to steer clear as much as possible. If we place bacon on KFC order, is it de-halaled?
Yes.
You have unhalaled your food. Yes. You see, almost a brother AP shares the true meaning of KFC. Get baptized so we know you are telling the truth if we were like Muslims. This is your... This is on you giving advice to Christians here. It's not a violation of Corinthians, but is another straw on the camel's back. I don't think it will. I don't think I will be going back to PFK.
There are no camels in Canada.
That's true. But that's a good point. No, KFC did it to score a political point, and accepting this will give others the idea, and gradually everything will be halal. As Canadian, I will not. Yeah, that's the issue of creeping Sharia. My view is don't give an inch to Sharia. So for me, that would be the major concern, that all these companies and organizations and institutions are being slowly Islamized. The pork product ban should get more attention, in my opinion. It implies they're catering to Muslims specifically in the workplace as well as the restaurant. And I would say indisputably, You didn't change all these rules to cater to any group but one. And you say, we're catering to one group and their religious requirements to be inclusive. To who? Mm-hmm. To that one group. That's what's always insane. It's the same thing with free speech. In order to be inclusive, we have to make blasphemy laws. We all know who the beneficiaries are of those blasphemy laws. You're going after people who criticize one religion. That's all you're doing. So you say, oh, it's to be inclusive. It's not. You mean it's to cater to Islam.
To be honest, it's also for our own good because it's dangerous to disrespect Islam, so there's that.
New skit, Farfor's Hardcore Parkour, LLC, spreading the peace of Islam through outdoor exercise. That would be funny if we made it like it's an advertisement for a company. Come to Farfor's Hardcore Parkour.
Yeah,
get in shape, kiddies. But you get kids there for parkour, but it's actually training to be Hamas terrorists. It's all training how to get over fences. Wouldn't that be funny? And under fences.
Or we could do a Farfor parkour video where he jumps on the rooftops of high buildings in order to execute gay people.
We can make we need the Farfor costume. Then we can make all kinds of videos. We need the Farfor costume. We need you to live down the street from me. And then we just make skits. We'll make skits every twice. We'll make 2 skits a week or something like that.
Makes sense.
Sounds like a Far Side cartoon. Then I remembered the Far Side cartoon. God as a kid tries to make a chicken in his room, but I say no. I have to see it. Far Side. God as a kid tries to make a chicken. God as a kid tries to make a chicken in his room. Oh, he's got test tubes and stuff there, and then feathers flying all over the room. That's not very funny.
No. It's very, very funny.
It's not even funny. Spiritual principles. Nut is AI Mike Winger is the kind of nerd who would get solar eclipse wrong by arguing that it's actually the moon playing a cosmic game of peekaboo with the sun. That is correct. Halal camel urine or haram Chick-fil-A? Checkmate, Islam. Halal camel urine or haram Chick-fil-A?
Man.
I have to say, yeah, I don't think, can't imagine Chick-fil-A going halal. So that's good. I'm sure they're loving this.
I think McDonald's was discussing about introducing camel urine for Muslim customers.
Mm-hmm. D says, yeah, that guy got screwed. False advertising is usually 6 months plus a fine. It's not even a sin to eat haram food unintentionally. Just have to repent if you find out you did. Yeah, again, I mean, I'm totally fine with there being penalties, even massive fines, because, I mean, he's making piles of money from these countries and so on. Even some jail time. But, you know, if you said 2 years or something, like you said 2 years, I would consider like 2 years reasonable. 18 months, 2 years, something like that. Big fine. That would all make sense. Putting this guy, oh my goodness, 200 and some change years. That's nuts.
Should be more. Yeah.
Work at abattoir. What is that? Is that a French word? Everything is technically halal because the CO, huge money for the halal certs per animal. So not everything gets the certification. It's a way for the company to maintain international markets. Islamic win for revenue. Yeah, I get the concerns about the markets and so on, especially, you know, if you're selling to other countries and so on. But look at the results. Now an entire company, an entire country is going full halal. This channel has single-handedly united Catholics, Orthodox, and Protestants. Cheers. Yes, we unite people. We unite everyone.
We bring people together because we like diversity and inclusion.
We really bring people together. We really bring people together. unlike the dividers. Mike Winger. In the UK, some chicken halal certification is the same method as regular machine slaughter, electronically stunned machine slaughter, apart from a prayer is said and a Muslim starts the machine. Now, if you have some method, again, they prefer the heart to be beating, and their concern is that stunning it would actually stop the heart. And so you have the halal organizations that say you can't stun it, you have to do it, and they just slit its throat and let it slowly bleed out. If you have a system, in other words, if you have some that say, no, it's actually okay for us to stun it, and this is how we do it, and there are some, then that should do away with the ethical objection. If your only ethical objection is to the animal suffering more than is necessary. If you're like PETA, where you're objecting to any killing of animals or something like that, that'd be a different category.
Beast.
Let's see. Can you do Muhammad meet Candace? Candace. We need someone to play Candace Owens. I bet I could get John McCrae to do it. Put on a wig and be Candace Owens. Halal 9000. She is 10. Sorry, I cannot help you.
That's messed up.
Hey, David, I Gmailed you last week about ChatGPT thumbnails. Could we email? You just said you emailed me. Well, you said you Gmailed me, but that's email, right?
Yes.
KFC kids meals will now contain 5-piece nuggets and a betrothal gift from Daniel Hakikachu. Yeah. Yeah, seriously, guys. You want Daniel Hakikachu controlling your kids' meals?
Of course.
You open it and there's this little, and here's what you should do when you get married at 5. And it's all like in pictures for kids who can't read and so on. Well, Muhammad, I didn't touch her. Oh, hi, Abu Bakr. Nice. David is
it's not true.
David is a wingalingophobe. That's true.
That's true.
AI wrote, Mike Winger not only sets the bar for incompetence and mediocrity, but then proceeds to trip over it in spectacularly ungraceful fashion. I'm going to read that one again because it's awesome. Mike Winger not only sets the bar for incompetence and mediocrity, but then proceeds to trip over it in spectacularly ungraceful fashion. That is true. Wait, this is part of the series. Hang on, let's go back. I'm going to read these. AI wrote, Mike Winger not only sets the bar for incompetence and mediocrity, but then proceeds to trip over it in spectacularly ungraceful fashion, landing face first in a puddle of his own self-important delusions, all while insisting that he's Michelin-starred chef in the kitchen of human achievement. Mike Winger serves up a banquet of hot garbage to an audience of confused seagulls who can't decide if they should laugh at his culinary catastrophes or just fly away in search of a more edible dumpster. I need to screenshot those later and combine them into one. That is completely accurate. I'm starting to see the benefits of learning AI. Pretty soon, we Canadians won't even be able to discuss issues like these because of the Online Harms Act by Trudeau. Clown world.
That's what you deserve.
And by the way, that's another issue that is connected to the creeping Sharia issue. The concerns about Sharia and Sharia being imposed on people. Another concern is this one, namely that if you see the trajectory, and you realize that not only are more and more institutions and companies and so on going to go Sharia compliant, but also that your governments are, and as time goes on, they may make more and more restrictions on your ability to even object, then you might want to be taking your stand now on issues, right? Might want to be taking your stand on issues right now. Mike Winger is the type of person to have a broken pocket protector by overusing it. Mike Winger is the type of dude to leave his hand on your shoulder 3 seconds longer than normal after a group photo. What's wrong? Who's this? Karen Fisher. I love Mike Winger. You will go to a different channel. Karen? Could we only love him in the bare minimum sense that we're required to love our enemies over here?
Alhamdulillah.
David needs Case O to just say you're banned anytime someone talks good about Mike Winger. That is true. I might need to assign a moderator whose only job is to ban people who say something nice about Mike Winger. Mike Winger is the type of dude to leak baby powder out his shorts while golfing in calf-length socks. Oh boy, what have we spread here? Mike Winger is the kind of nerd who could recite the entire Star Wars saga in binary while simultaneously solving a Rubik's Cube blindfolded, yet still manages to trip over his own shoelaces when walking in a straight line. AI is pretty good, man. Is this real? Does AI actually come up with these kind of awesome insults?
AI is amazing, yeah. And it's getting amazinger.
Always wondered how one man could deceive 2 billion people. Oh, we know how it works. You want to deceive 2 billion people? Just walk out and say, hey, every horrible thought and sick stuff in your head, that's what Allah's going to give you in paradise, and that's what you can make happen to some extent here, as long as you do it in the halal way.
That's kind of based.
So normally we would say, hey, if you want to go rob someone and take all their stuff, well, that's bad. But if Allah wants you to do it, then you can go do it. And now you can go rob people, take all their stuff, and God wants you to do it. Lots of people look out, hey, there's that woman over there. I'd like to go just take her and bang her. And but no, I get in trouble. What if the creator of the universe says, hey, you can go do it, and he wants you to do it. He wants you to go snatch that lady, kill her husband, and take her. Good deal, huh?
Yeah.
You convince a bunch of people of that, you have got a religion that is going to explode.
That's what they do.
Everyone's fighting for Palestine. Meanwhile, Momo on Hafsa's roof taking a dump while facing Sham. What? Mike Winger's the type of dude to fart at Thanksgiving dinner and spend a full half an hour apologizing, thus making his fart the most memorable thing. What's wrong with people? Kosher meat is killed in a similar way to halal. And if your objection, so kosher meat killed in a similar way to halal. So if you had a place that is also requiring animals to suffer more than is necessary, then you could have the same objection regardless of whether it's Islamic or not. You wouldn't have the other objections and so on. But you could still have that. You could object to killing animals at all. Different people can have different views on things.
Why are you not talking about Judaism?
I, Daniel, want to take a peek at you, young lady. Daniel, take a peek at you. Daniel, take a peek at you. Mike Winger's the type of dude to ban conversations about Thanksgiving fart affair just to have his family refer back to it as farts giving behind his back. Who said, I did not have sex with this goat? About 1 million Pakistanis. The comments on Mark Ruffalo going against Sharia. Did Mark Ruffalo go against Sharia?
He made a tweet where he was
because he's a PETA guy, isn't he?
A what guy?
Is he one of those PETA guys? Go ahead. Tell me what you were saying.
He made a tweet where he was it was a very stupid tweet, but it was basically about how the right, the conservatives, are like the Christian form of Sharia law or something like that. And of course, they are very popular when people say dumb stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But of course, Muslims and many others got offended by this and were like, "What? How can you do this? How can you use Muslims and Islam as an example to vilify people again? Of course, we are not as bad as those Christians." So that's the whole controversy.
Nice. Mark Ruffalo, what a guy. Halal Happy Meal is really a bride's meal. for Daniel Hikikachu, the only guy who takes his wives out for Happy Meals.
That's beast.
Farmhouse Theologian. How do you pronounce this? Do you know? Looks like some French word. Abattoirs? Abattoirs? Looks like abattoirs, but I know it's probably not pronounced like that. It equals slaughterhouse. This is where the halal certifications come from. KFC, like most places you buy meat, probably always use technically halal. They now have the certification for it from the abattoir, is that right? Which is revenue for Islam.
Nice. That's good. That's good.
You're a
I
chronic
like when something Islam.
You're a chronic sufferer of MWDS, Mike Winger derangement syndrome. It's not derangement if the concerns are valid.
Yes.
Do you think Muhammad's close companions, wise relatives, actually believed he was a true prophet, or did some not believe?
It depends.
I would suspect that the people who signed on early actually believed it, and that some of the people who signed on later, when it became dangerous to oppose or reject him, were actually unbelievers. Because you get to a point where you can't tell the difference between everyone has to say the right things and do the right things. It's similar to today, where it's estimated that between 5 and 10% of Muslims in Muslim countries are actually closet atheists. It's similar to officially 99% of Iran would say they're Muslims when it's actually 40%. So most people do not believe in Islam, but most of them would say they believe in Islam if they were required to. So I would suspect that some of his companions didn't actually believe.
Very terrible people.
In fact, so you take Abdullah ibn Abi Sar, who was one of Muhammad's scribes, realized that Muhammad's not a true prophet. Awesome. Awesome. It's an awesome incident from the Muslim sources when Abdullah ibn Abi Sar, who's one of Muhammad's scribes, blurts something out. And Muhammad says, yeah, include that. And so he's making changes to the Quran and adding things to the Quran. And he's just thinking, if Muhammad's a prophet, then I'm a prophet too, because I'm making changes to the Quran. And he's saying, yeah, do it. So if he's a prophet, then I'm a prophet, because I'm the one who just said that. I'm the one who just said that. And he says, I know I'm not a prophet. So if he's a prophet, then I'm a prophet. I know I'm not a prophet. Guess what? He's not a prophet. And so he left Islam. Later on, when Muhammad takes over, Muhammad wanted him executed, but Umar interceded for him and he survived. But guess what? That guy died as a Muslim. Did Muhammad conquering Mecca somehow magically convince him that Islam is true? Highly doubtful. But he learned to live as a Muslim, which you had to, or you died.
Terrible, terrible people. Why would they not believe Muhammad? It's just can't make sense of it.
Mm-hmm. And there's a question, possibly even Aisha, when she says, your Lord hastens to satisfy your wishes and desires. It's possible that, come on, dude, you're a joke.
Well, she was a child. Why would you trust a child? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mike Winger, the type of guy to laugh at the Exorcist movie differently, is a closet Muslim. What? Saying that Mike Winger's a closet Muslim? I don't know about that. David, look up AI insult generator. There is a site called Perchance, and then just type Mike Winger into the brutal one, and it will come up with gold.
Really?
I'm screenshotting these instructions on how to make fun of Mike Winger more easily. Mike Winger is the type of guy that talks about Santa Claus with a mischievous twinkle in his eye. What's wrong with you? All right, guys. We've gone through the halal stuff. AP says avoid halal at all costs because it's going to hurt his feelings.
Yeah. It's very problematic on such a level that I just don't like it. That's why I think everyone should stay away from it.
Yeah, and I've sort of mentioned all the major concerns someone could have. My personal view is I don't think any of that is like complete deal breaker. Again, if I were going over someone's house and they're serving KFC or something like that, I'm not going to object. But I would make reasonable efforts to, if I have a choice, avoid halal food, and probably won't. Well, I could say really, really probably, I'm not going to be going to KFC.
Yeah, I presented my position on that already. If I went to a place and they offered me KFC, I would start a fight, and it wouldn't end until somebody dies.
Indeed. So those are the issues. Those are my thoughts. You may disagree with me, but you are free. You are free in this world to be wrong and disagree with me. AP, not sure. We're traveling this week. Not sure. We will have to check out the internet up there in case we want to go live one night. But guys, you might not hear from us from a little while because we're going to be traveling and going to a conference and stuff.
Yes.
And recording a bunch of videos. But the plus side is we will have some pretty fun stuff, some pretty fun epic stuff.
Yes.
Very soon. All right, these last two super chats real quick. Sergeant Osiris from Tropic Thunder to Daniel. Oh my, I told you not to go full with this baby stuff. Yeah, I was saying that we should always
never go full halal.
I have the Jihadi Tears mug. There's a link if you want one, because people occasionally ask me, "Hey, can I? Where do I get one of those?" There's a link in the description box. But I was thinking one never go full dawa. But that's from Sergeant Lincoln Osiris, who's one of the coolest characters ever.
No.
If you don't know who Lincoln Osiris was, you have Robert Downey Jr. playing an Australian blonde-haired, blue-eyed Australian method actor who undergoes a surgical treatment to play a black war hero. And then while recording that, the black war hero has to disguise himself as a Chinese rice farmer. And so it's like it's all these layers. It's pretty, it's pretty crazy. Zechariah, and then finally for here from Nutties, Mike Winger's the type of person to think people are being serious about gooning and edging and tell them how to do it biblically. Still don't know what gooning and edging are, but I'm guessing I don't want to know. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Someone send some more. Hey, Mosh Cohen. I don't know if you just did this or this was from earlier, but gave 5 Apologetics Roadshow memberships. Hats off to him. Not sure if I missed anyone else who gifted Roadshow memberships, but shout out to everyone who did. And we are not sure when we're going to see you next, but we will see you next time.
We might never see each other again.
And we will have some awesome stuff. Hope to see you in Ohio if you're going to the conference. If so,
hi.
Come up and say hi to us. And again, if those of you are going to the conference, there is at least one skit where we need an audience to be in the background. So if you want to be in a video, you can. If you're going to the conference, you can actually be in one of our videos. If you want some lines, you can also get some lines in the video. Dusty here says, just posted an AI-generated image of you on X. Horrible. No AI-generated images of me. The real me is pretty enough. And
if you want lines, make your own. Bring your own stuff. Yeah.
He's talking about all the cocaine he snorts. Great stream, guys. Bacon grease brings peace. It sure does. All right. We'll catch you all next time. We got some planning to do and some scripts to write.
Inshallah.
Wait a second. Someone just tossed in a... Oh, there we go. Blessings and prayers. That's way better one to end on than the horrible stuff that Nutters always says, except when he's making fun of Mike Winger. Then it's all good. All right. Catch y'all next time.